Chapter 3141. Lin Donghai, who was chasing after him, looked like a victor. He really thought that Night Sorrow had escaped because of him. You really are an unsalvageable fool. If I were you, I would contact Lin Dongqing and ask him to send someone to save you. Night Sorrow, who was in front of him, roared. Lin Donghai, who did not believe Night Sorrow at all, said nonchalantly, "You should be the one asking for help, not me. You're hopeless." Night Sorrow said. Then, he unleashed his full speed, trying to distance himself from Lin Donghai. After all, according to his judgment, the other party was most likely here for Lin Donghai, not him. Go. However, the cultivators who were lying in ambush started to move. From their point of view, Night Sorrow and Lin Donghai looked like they were running away. Hence, they launched an all-out attack. Around 20 half-step heavenly sovereigns appeared, and Night Sorrow and Lin Donghai were both intercepted. We can't escape. If we can't, we can only summon the ancient coffin to block them. After being intercepted by so many cultivators, Night Sorrow immediately distanced himself from the shocked Lin Donghai. He knew that if he got closer to the other party, he would definitely encounter more ferocious attacks. Lin Donghai was completely dumbfounded when he realized that so many cultivators had appeared. In his shock, he immediately sent a voice transmission to Lin Dongqing. "Brother, I've been ambushed. Save me." "I saw it. But you have to hold on for about 30 breaths. As Lin Dongqing replied, he had already flown toward the mountain range with the 4 elders of the Lu Tian Academy. In fact, they had already seen the cultivators when they appeared. There was no need for Lin Donghai to say anything. 30 breaths. Lin Donghai was completely dizzy when he heard this number. He had no confidence in fighting against at least 10 cultivators of the same level alone for 30 seconds. Reality was crueler than he had expected. Around 20 half-step heavenly sovereigns had appeared and judged Night Sorrow and Lin Donghai's strength. Only 4 of them were sent to deal with Night Sorrow, while the rest surrounded Lin Donghai. It's over. 30 breaths. I can't hold on for that long. Lin Donghai glanced at Night Sorrow and saw that there were only 4 cultivators attacking him. He immediately felt envious. If there were only 4 of them, then it wouldn't be a problem for him to hold on for 30 breaths of time. However, reality was so cruel that he had no choice but to lower his head. Under the suppression, although Lin Donghai was constantly brandishing the Devil Sky Halberd, he suffered heavy injuries every moment. There were simply too many of them, and he had no ability to resist at all. In the process of resisting, Lin Donghai could be said to have used all his means, taking out all the divine artifacts and secret treasures in his spatial artifact. But there was no way to defend against it. "Who are you? Why did you come after me?" Lin Donghai, who was soon beaten to the point where he could not fight back, asked the cultivators who were eyeing him covetously. At this moment, his bun was already disheveled and his mouth was full of blood. He looked very ferocious. "You don't need to know who we are. You only need to know that you are about to die." After Lin Donghai asked this question, one of the cultivators who had killed him replied coldly. However, this cultivator's voice was masked, and it was impossible to tell if he was male or female. "Damn it. My brother won't let you off." Only about 10 breaths of time had passed. Lin Donghai knew that he could not continue to hold on and roared. "Thank you for worrying about us." The cultivator who had just spoken replied coldly. Then, he attacked and prepared to kill Lin Donghai. "Stop. Otherwise, none of you will be able to leave." At this moment, Lin Dongqing, who was flying while paying attention to the bronze mirror, roared from hundreds of thousands of miles away. "Stop. Dream on. Kill." None of the cultivators who heard Lin Dongqing's roar showed fear. A few of them attacked one after another and completely destroyed Lin Donghai. "Damn it. All of you deserve to die." Seeing that Lin Donghai was killed, Lin Dongqing threw away the bronze mirror and sped up towards their location. "Let's hurry up too. It doesn't matter if one of us dies, but we can't let them kill all the cultivators participating in the selection. Elder Su, who took the bronze mirror, looked at the other 3 elders and said, "Yes, we can't let this get out of hand." Elder Murong nodded and sped up with the others. However, compared to Lin Dongqing, who was burning his bloodline, they were much slower. Just as they were heading towards the extreme pole, Night Sorrow had already escaped far away from the pursuit of 4 cultivators. Of the cultivators just now, only 4 had been sent to deal with him. This made Night Sorrow very happy. Against these half-step heavenly sovereigns, he could easily escape from their encirclement. In fact, he was not afraid of the 4 of them at all if he fully unleashed his power. However, if he was entangled by them, he would be surrounded by more than 20 cultivators. Then, it would be difficult for him to protect himself. At this moment, he was frantically flying in the direction of Lin Dongqing and the others. He felt that these people who surrounded him and Lin Donghai either had a grudge against the Lu Heaven Academy or the Lin family. Escaping in this direction was the best choice. Lin Dongqing. While being chased, Night Sorrow quickly saw Lin Dongqing. Seeing Lin Dongqing, the rock in Yishan's heart was immediately lifted. This was because Lin Dongqing was a true heavenly sovereign. The people chasing him were all half-step heavenly sovereigns. There was a huge gap between the 2 sides. Lin Dongqing is here. Follow the plan. When the 4 cultivators who were chasing Night Sorrow saw Lin Dongqing, they immediately stopped and fled in another direction. Trying to escape. "All of you stay here and pay for my brother's life." Seeing that the cultivators were trying to escape, Lin Dongqing roared maliciously and chased after them. When he passed by Night Sorrow, he said coldly, "Donghai has already died in battle. You shouldn't continue to live either." As he spoke, he struck out a palm at Night Sorrow. Although this palm strike wasn't a secret technique, it was still an attack from a heavenly sovereign. Its power was immense. As for Lin Dongqing, after unleashing this palm strike, he no longer paid any attention to Yishan and continued to chase forward. It was as if Night Sorrow was already a dead man. What a powerful attack. Lin Dongqing is indeed the top genius of the previous cohort. Lin Dongqing's attack was much stronger than that of an ordinary lower heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow felt that this attack was at least 10 times stronger than the one that heavenly sovereign and Ling had struck out. It would be very difficult for him to defend against it. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow, who had no way of dealing with it, took out the ancient coffin from his spatial artifact. Clan M. Chapter 3142. After taking out the ancient coffin, Night Sorrow immediately placed it in front of him. Lin Dongqing's attack landed on the black gas surrounding the ancient coffin. It did not even cause a ripple before it was annihilated. It was like a stone that was thrown into a lake but did not cause any ripples. I wonder what's going on with this ancient coffin. This level of defensive power is simply astonishing to the extreme. Seeing the ancient coffin blocking the opponent's attack again, Night Sorrow suddenly had a thought. He was wondering if the ancient coffin contained the corpse of an extreme state. If so, perhaps the next time he returned to the eternal supreme world, he could let the supreme longevity and the coiling dragon spear study it. But then, Night Sorrow thought to himself, the attack of an ordinary heavenly sovereign can't even cause a ripple. The 2 seniors probably can't even open this ancient coffin. This matter needs to be considered at length. What is this? An ancient coffin? Its defense is so amazing. This night demon is also someone with an inheritance. Just as Night Sorrow was pondering, Elder Su, who was holding the bronze mirror, happened to see this scene and secretly speculated. In the foggy area, the 3 major experts were lofty existences and basically never showed their faces. But below them, there were many forces and families. Usually, these forces and families fought fiercely. Elder Su felt that Night Sorrow must have come from a major force or family. The ancient coffin in his hand was proof, but he was not as high profile as the Lin brothers. He secretly made up his mind to befriend him and felt that he should help him keep this secret. So he did not publicize it. And at this time, The few elders beside him were all doing their best to hurry on with their journey and did not notice this at all. You actually didn't die. When everyone flew nearby and saw Night Sorrow, Elder Murong immediately exclaimed in surprise. In his and the other elders' opinion, Night Sorrow must have died like Lin Donghai. Good luck. Saved my life. That person is chasing inside. When Night Sorrow saw Elder Murong and the others, he immediately pointed in the direction Lin Dongqing had gone. He did not want to see these people attacking him like Lin Dongqing had done. After all, even though the elders before him were not as powerful as Lin Dongqing, their strength should be on par with him. How is he going to deal with it? Elder Murong said after Night Sorrow finished speaking. In his opinion, Night Sorrow was a suspect, and he was definitely related to Lin Donghai's death. At this time, Elder Su, who understood Elder Murong's meaning, stood out and said, in my opinion, he was a lucky man to be able to survive in that kind of environment. We should make an exception and enroll him into the academy. Hearing this, Elder Murong immediately sent a message to Elder Su. Elder Su, could it be that this lad is related to you? Why are you speaking up for him again and again? What can I possibly have to do with him? Elder Su replied and continued, I can only tell you that he received Lin Dongqing's full-force palm strike and was unharmed. He took Lin Dongqing's full-powered palm strike and came out unscathed? How did you do it? When Elder Murong heard this, he immediately looked at Night Sorrow curiously. However, he did not see anything special about Night Sorrow. He stared at Night Sorrow for a while, then asked, how did you receive Lin Dongqing's attack? Did you use the secret treasure that your family gave you? These elders don't know that I used the ancient coffin? When he heard Elder Murong's question, Night Sorrow was first surprised, then said, I did not use any secret treasure. I was just lucky. If you don't want to say, then forget it. Seeing that Night Sorrow had admitted that he had blocked Lin Dongqing's attack, Elder Murong did not ask further. He agreed with Elder Su's suggestion. He said, I agree with your suggestion. Let's help mediate the situation later. In his opinion, Night Sorrow must have someone backing him up. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to receive Lin Dongqing's full-force attack with the strength of a lower earthly sovereign. Elder Murong, who had no background, did not want to offend such an existence. Hence, he agreed to help mediate the situation. I agree too. Seconded. After Elder Murong had agreed, the other two elders also agreed with Elder Su's suggestion. After getting the other people's approval, Elder Su smiled at Night Sorrow and said, we will help you apply for a place to enter Killer Heaven Academy directly. You don't have to continue fighting. I think it's better to forget about it. Isn't that person in charge of your group? He doesn't have a good impression of me. I'd better continue fighting. Seeing that no one wanted to continue questioning him, Night Sorrow said and turned to leave. Seeing Night Sorrow's back, Elder Su smiled and shouted, then we'll meet in the academy. In his opinion, Night Sorrow had the ancient coffin to protect him, so he would not be threatened in the mountains. It was certain that he would advance to the top 10. Okay. Yishang turned his head to look and made a sound of acknowledgement. At this time, Elder Su continued, I will help you keep your ancient coffin a secret. As for the others, they did not see it at all. Thank you, Elder Su. Hearing that, Night Sorrow was shocked, but he calmed down immediately. This Elder Su's behavior was clearly to befriend him. In that case, he would not casually reveal the ancient coffin. See you later. Elder Su said again and flew in the direction that Lin Dongqing had gone with the other three elders. Soon, they saw Lin Dongqing. At this time, Lin Dongqing was standing in front of a destroyed teleportation portal, cursing something angrily. There were no signs of fighting around him. Clearly, no one had caught up to him. The people who killed Lin Donghai should have escaped. Young Master Qing. He's already dead. My condolences. Seeing that Lin Dongqing was ready to explode at any time, Elder Murong went forward to persuade him. Someone is definitely targeting our Lin family on purpose. The Lin family will not let this matter rest. Lin Dongqing said coldly, then said, "Follow me to check the entire mountain range to see if there are any fish that escaped the net. As for the selection, continue as usual." "Okay." Elder Murong said, then followed Lin Dongqing to check the entire mountain range with the other elders. After checking 3 to 4 times and witnessing dozens of battles, they did not find anything at all. At this time, Lin Dongqing said, "It seems that their target was Donghai. Now that they have achieved their goal, they have all escaped. This matter is not only targeted at the Lin family, but also a challenge to the Killer Heaven Academy. When we go back, we will report it." Elder Murong looked at Lin Dongqing and said. Hearing that, Lin Dongqing nodded. "Thank you, Elder Murong." Just as he said that, his expression changed. He looked in a direction and said, "What? You're not dead." Clan M. Chapter 3143. Why would I die? Yi Shang sneered in the void as he looked at Lin Dongqing. He could feel that he was very unlucky. He had been deliberately avoiding Lin Dongqing, but he had not expected to meet him. If Lin Dongqing attacked him, his ancient coffin would be exposed. If Lin Dongqing discovered the ancient coffin, it would cause a huge commotion. That would be awkward. A cold smile appeared on Lin Dongqing's face when he heard Yi Shang's words. "You were actually able to receive my attack. Not bad. However, you still have to die. Lin Donghai has been ambushed and killed. You fought with him. Only by being killed can you prove your innocence. Otherwise, you will still be his sinner. We were ambushed together. He was killed because he was not strong enough. What does that have to do with me? If I can withstand the attack of a heavenly supreme like you, why would I be killed by some half-step heavenly sovereigns?" Night Sorrow hovered in the air and looked at Lin Dongqing expressionlessly. There were 4 elders beside Lin Dongqing. He had to make the situation clear. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for him to enter the Lu Tian Academy. "You are twisting words and forcing logic. Die." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Lin Dongqing agreed with him. If Night Sorrow could withstand his full-powered attack, he would definitely be able to withstand the attack of a half-step heavenly supreme. After shouting, Lin Dongqing raised his hand and was about to attack. At that moment, Elder Su suddenly said, "Hold on. I have been observing this night demon through the bronze mirror. I believe that he has nothing to do with the spies. If he uses the secret treasure on him, he can kill Lin Donghai instantly. There is no need for the spies to attack." "Secret treasure?" Lin Dongqing looked coldly at Night Sorrow and said, "Hand over your secret treasure." "Why?" Night Sorrow looked at Lin Dongqing and said disdainfully. Ever since he had started cultivating, he had never bowed his head to anyone. Naturally, he would not compromise now. "There is no why. If I ask you to hand it over, you have to hand it over." Lin Dongqing continued to speak unyieldingly. At the same time, he was already preparing to attack. Yang Kai was very interested in artifacts that could resist true qi attacks. "Are all the genius students of Killer Heaven Academy trash like you? If that's the case, then I don't mind not joining. I don't want to become trash myself." Night Sorrow mocked Lin Dongqing, who was trying to rob him. Naturally, he would not give up on joining the Killer Heaven Academy, but he was very displeased with the person in front of him. "You're courting death." After being mocked by Night Sorrow, Lin Dongqing roared and took out his divine artifact. He was ready to kill Night Sorrow and take his secret artifact for himself. According to his judgment, if he didn't use the divine artifact, he definitely wouldn't be able to kill him. At this moment, Elder Su stood out once more and said, "No. Lin Dongqing, as the invigilator of this selection competition, you made a huge mistake by changing the rules at the last minute. No matter what, you can't attack a contestant who didn't make a mistake. Do you really think that the higher-ups of the academy don't pay attention to this place? Then, how do you think this matter should be resolved since he insulted me?" Lin Dongqing looked at Elder Su with his cold eyes. He was very displeased that Elder Su was protecting Night Sorrow. However, when he thought of the higher-ups that Elder Sue mentioned, he suppressed the urge to attack and asked coldly. I think we need to return to the academy and let the higher-ups decide what to do about this matter. If there's a problem with his identity, the higher-ups won't let him off. If there's no problem with his identity, he'll be punished accordingly for offending the invigilator. Elder Sue said, giving Lin Dongqing a way out of this embarrassing situation. Hearing this, Lin Dongqing said, how about this? If he can enter the final top 10, we'll bring him back to the academy. If he can't, then he'll die in the mountain range. There's no need to say anything. That's good too. Elder Sue immediately agreed when he saw that Lin Dongqing had no intention to continue attacking. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, did you hear Invigilator Lin's words? I heard it. Night Sorrow replied. He knew that Elder Sue was definitely helping him, so he didn't refute. Continue participating in the selection competition. If you successfully advance, don't think about escaping. Elder Sue said again and let Night Sorrow leave. When Night Sorrow left, Lin Dongqing thought sinisterly, you'd better die in the selection competition. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble when you enter the academy. Night Sorrow could actually think of this, but he wasn't afraid. He continued to wander in the mountain range. This mountain range was very special, and it was very difficult to set up a formation. Otherwise, Night Sorrow could easily appear if he stopped to set up the 5-bull formation. After traveling for a long time in the mountain range, he didn't encounter any contestants. Night Sorrow judged that this was because the number of contestants had decreased after a period of battle. Just like that, he flew in the mountain range for 3 days and 3 nights, but he didn't encounter any opponents. Moreover, he didn't hear any movements around him. At this moment, Bai Mei Sanren transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. In my opinion, most of the remaining people should be breaking through. They're preparing to advance to Sky Supreme before coming out. What do you think? That should be the case. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so quiet. Night Sorrow replied. He felt that Bai Mei Sanren's analysis made sense. Then, he casually found a place in the mountain range and waited quietly, no longer actively looking for opponents. After all, in the selection competition, as long as there were 10 people left, they would advance. However, soon, Night Sorrow realized that his bad luck wasn't over yet. Because during the 2 days he waited here, a deafening roar sounded near him. Then, an overwhelming tribulation cloud arrived. Someone had actually successfully advanced to Sky Supreme nearby and attracted the lightning tribulation. Night Sorrow looked up and cursed inwardly. Because he happened to be in the middle of the lightning tribulation, he would definitely be attacked by the lightning tribulation. This was very awkward. Why don't I have someone cultivating beside me? When the lightning tribulation condensed into a lightning tribulation energy body, many lightning bolts flew over to bombard him. Night Sorrow thought unhappily. Logically speaking, with the sea serpent's eye, he should have been able to detect someone cultivating right under his nose. But that was the truth. He didn't detect the other party. Boom. 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 While Night Sorrow was feeling unhappy, the lightning bolts began to bombard him fiercely. The lightning tribulation at the Sky Supreme level continuously bombarded him. That feeling was very uncomfortable. However, after being bombarded for a while, a thought suddenly flashed through Night Sorrow's mind. He thought to himself, although this is bad luck, isn't it also an opportunity? I can use the lightning tribulation in front of me to temper my body. Clan M. Chapter 3144. Although the intensity of the lightning tribulation is very high, it hasn't reached the level where it can destroy me. It's just right to temper my body. With this thought in mind, Night Sorrow soared into the sky and accepted the baptism of the lightning tribulation. Speaking of which, he still felt a lot of pressure when facing this level of lightning tribulation, but his gains were also great. His body's strength was rapidly increasing. Who is this? What is he trying to do? At this moment, the female cultivator, Bai Yu, who was transcending the tribulation, looked at Night Sorrow with a puzzled expression. Because after Night Sorrow suddenly appeared, the lightning tribulation she suffered was much smaller. This allowed her to be in a better state to face the lightning tribulation energy body that was about to form. But in this mountain range, everyone's goal was the same, and that was to successfully survive until the end. Everyone was an opponent. When Baiyu saw Night Sorrow tempering his body in the lightning tribulation she attracted, she immediately raised her guard and was affected by the dark aura. She wanted to immediately attack Night Sorrow. And this thought was getting stronger and stronger. However, she knew that she was about to face the lightning tribulation energy body and absolutely could not be impulsive at this time. She had been suppressing the thought of fighting. Just like that, after 3 days, Baiyu finally led the lightning tribulation energy body and fought with it. At this time, the lightning that attacked Night Sorrow completely disappeared. Night Sorrow, whose body had been greatly strengthened, left satisfied. He knew that if Baiyu could successfully transcend the tribulation, she would probably turn around and attack him. Not everyone could remain sober and calm in the mountain range. After leaving the area where Baiyu was transcending the tribulation, Night Sorrow prepared to find a quieter place to recover. Because in the past few days, he had been attacked by lightning and suffered some injuries, which needed to be healed. However, Night Sorrow sat in a quiet valley and had just rested for a while when a sense of uneasiness suddenly rose in his heart. That feeling of panic made him feel very uncomfortable. He opened the sea serpent's eye to observe his surroundings but did not see anything unusual. He could not help but wonder, what's going on? Brother Night Sorrow, what's wrong with you? Noticing that something was wrong with Night Sorrow, Bai Mei Sanren immediately asked. I don't know why I'm panicking. It feels like I'm being stared at by an ancient beast. It feels very dangerous. Night Sorrow opened his mouth and expressed his feelings. There doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary around here. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Forbidden Breaking Hammer and Little Seven spoke in unison. Although they were not released, they could still sense a certain range. But just like Night Sorrow, there was no problem at all. At this time, Qin Xingyun's wife, Yang Fan, suddenly said, Benefactor. The danger that existed. Could it be that he is stronger than us and can sense us, but we can't sense him? Or should I say, we can't sense that far away? There were many experts in the fog region, and they were much stronger than in the eternal supreme world. This was because the civilization in the fog had never been interrupted, and the eternal supreme world had gradually been reborn from the destruction. She knew that there were many insufferably powerful experts in the foggy area. If Night Sorrow was being targeted by such an expert, it was normal that he couldn't sense the other party. That's possible. Hearing Qin Fan's words, Night Sorrow's thoughts suddenly became clear. He instantly understood. It was very likely that there was an existence that he couldn't fight against that was observing him. That was why he felt uneasy. In fact, his judgment was correct. After Yi Shang parted ways with Lin Dongqing and the others, Elder Su, who was worried that Lin Dongqing would secretly attack Yi Shang, immediately sent a voice transmission to one of the vice deans of Lu Tian Academy and told him about it. At this time, it was the vice dean who was observing him from afar. This little guy seems a little strange. But what's strange about him, even I can't tell. Vice Dean Ji Xian observed for a while and said to Elder Su. Because he was currently in the Lu Tian Academy and was not at the scene at all. Oh. Vice Dean, what do you mean? Is there something wrong with his background? Elder Su immediately asked after hearing Vice Dean Ji Xian's words. His aura. His aura is a little strange. I'll have to see him to determine what's strange about it. Vice Dean Ji Xian said and continued, if he can successfully advance, bring him to see me. Yes. Elder Su nodded and continued, what if Supervisor Lin Dongqing doesn't agree? Lin Dongqing is talented, but he's too arrogant. Ignore him. After Vice Dean Ji Xian finished speaking, there was no more sound. At this time, Night Sorrow slowly heaved a sigh of relief and said, that sense of danger just now is gone. That's good. Bai Mei Sanren heard and immediately relaxed. Night Sorrow was not the only one who was nervous just now. His friends in the grotto heaven were all worried as well. After all, they were bound together for good or ill. I can't completely relax yet. I think this matter is not simple. It's very likely related to whether I can sneak into the Lu Tian Academy. Night Sorrow thought for a while. The powerful existences around the Lu Tian Academy should all be from the Lu Tian Academy. He guessed that the person who was scrutinizing him should be a big shot in the academy. Upon hearing this, Bai Mei Sanren nodded and said, "Indeed, it might be the higher-ups from the Lu Tian Academy who are scrutinizing you. It should be. But I'm not sure if they can see through my identity in the Eternal Supreme Realm. If they do, I'll definitely die." Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice. This matter was a wake-up call for him. He began to secretly think of a way to deal with it. Although he had the ancient coffin protecting him, he did not believe that the ancient coffin could resist the experts behind the Lu Tian Academy. Therefore, he had to think of a foolproof plan. "I've finally found you. How dare you take advantage of me during my tribulation? Die." Just as Night Sorrow was thinking, a feminine voice suddenly came from above the valley. It was Bai Yu, who had just succeeded in her tribulation. You succeeded in transcending the tribulation so quickly?" Seeing that it was Bai Yu, who had just transcended her tribulation, Yi Chang stood up in confusion. He felt that it had only been a short while since he entered the valley. In terms of time, it was about 20 breaths. Logically speaking, it was impossible for her to succeed in her tribulation in such a short period of time. Is it very fast to successfully pass the Heavenly Supreme Tribulation in 3 days? Bai Yu, who was floating in the void, had the aura of a Heavenly Supreme around her. She looked coldly at Night Sorrow and said, "I'll let you be the sacrifice for me to become a Heavenly Supreme. You've just succeeded in your tribulation. I advise you to stabilize your cultivation. Otherwise, you might lose more than you gain." Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe Bai Yu. He found that although she had advanced to Heavenly Supreme, her aura was a little weak and not stable at all. He was not afraid of such an opponent. At the same time, he judged that the valley he was in was a little special. In terms of time, it was very likely that it was not the same as the outside world. Chapter 3145. If that wasn't the case, the timing didn't match at all. It was impossible for the other party to defeat the Thunder Calamity energy clone and become a heavenly sovereign in just a few moments. In other words, there might be a time formation in the nearby valley that he couldn't see through. However, he obviously didn't have the energy to study it now. Bai Yuan had already attacked him. You're just a lower earthly sovereign, and you want to fight me? Dream on. Bai Yuan looked insufferably arrogant in front of Night Sorrow. She didn't take him seriously at all. In her opinion, Night Sorrow just had a strong body and shouldn't have any strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen to run away when he was fighting against the Thunder Calamity energy clone. "I've let you go this time. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Night Sorrow said disdainfully as he fought back with his golden heavenly halberd. She might be the first cultivator to become a heavenly sovereign. His true strength was enough to fight against an ordinary heavenly sovereign. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of her. Boom! When Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd and Bai Yuan's dual blades collided, there was an earth-shattering sound. The two of them retreated to a certain distance. This female cultivator is not ordinary. She's much stronger than an ordinary heavenly sovereign. However, I can still deal with her. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow determined that Bai Yuan's strength was not far from Heavenly Sovereign and Ling's. He transmitted his voice to Bai Mei Sanren and the others, telling them not to worry. If he hadn't strengthened his body, he would have been completely suppressed. However, with the enhancement of his body's strength, Night Sorrow could engage in close combat with her, even though his overall strength was inferior. While Night Sorrow was thinking of a countermeasure, Bai Yuan was surprised. She knew that Night Sorrow's body was strong, but she didn't expect him to have such strong strength. This proved that their divine core strength wasn't very different. Although she had some advantages, she didn't have an overwhelming advantage overall since they were on the same level. Zhong Yu thought to himself, although his strength is not bad, his prowess is too weak. His divine yuan qi is definitely not as strong as mine. I'll just casually fight him for a while and exhaust his divine yuan qi, then I'll be able to kill him easily. Under the influence of the black aura, Baiyu became extremely bloodthirsty, but her basic battle instincts were still present. Following his plan, he began to fight Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow chose to engage in close combat with Baiyu. Baiyu was very cooperative and had no intention of using any of its ultimate techniques. He began to compete with Night Sorrow in terms of God origin energy. However, after fighting for a while, something that Baiyu and Night Sorrow did not expect happened. They had only fought for about 20 breaths, and they all felt that something was wrong. At the same time, he realized that his dantian was almost empty. Not good. This mountain valley is extremely mysterious. After fighting for just 20 breaths of time, I already feel like I've used up all my energy. It was even more exhausting than fighting for 3 days and 3 nights. His dantian was already empty. Hun Dun, how are your injuries? This time, I'm afraid I'll need your help again. The Night Sorrow, who discovered that something was wrong, already understood what was going on. He prepared to summon the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast out immediately. This was his battle pet. Summoning it out to fight was not against the rules. As for Bai Mei Sanren and the rest, if they were summoned out, it would count as Night Sorrow cheating. And however, the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast who received the voice transmission said weakly, "The frequency of your battle is seriously too fast. I haven't recovered at all and completely don't have the strength to fight. All right. I'll think of a way myself. But if this female cultivator has more divine essence than me, then it'll be dangerous this time." The current Night Sorrow had the thought of summoning the ancient coffin out. However, summoning it once, he discovered that his divine essence power was not enough and did not summon it out at all. This isn't easy to handle. The Night Sorrow, who was suspended above the void, immediately felt his heart turn cold. Currently, for him to be able to fly in midair, it was not relying on divine essence power at all, but relying on his body. But at this time, he discovered that Baiyu's face already had a look of horror. Night Sorrow immediately understood. Although this Baiyu did not expend all like him, the exhaustion was definitely severe. The Night Sorrow, who already did not have much combat strength, laughed at this time and said, You indeed fell for it. Is my array formation still strong enough?" After all, it was Night Sorrow who came to this valley first. He felt that saying so at this time, Baiyu would definitely fall for his empty fort stratagem. In this valley, the rate of divine essence power consumption was simply horrifying. Originally, he who still had roughly 10% divine essence power, in the process of transmitting voice to the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast, it was completely exhausted. Even flying was relying on his body itself. This feeling was too unbearable. "Turns out that you deliberately lured me here. Despicable." The current Baiyu, the divine essence power consumption within her body was similarly very horrifying. As she spoke, she already did not dare to attack anymore. Furthermore, she could feel that the divine essence power within her dantian was about to be completely exhausted right away. Cursing a sentence, she flew out of the valley. So close. If she used the last trace of divine essence power to display an ultimate art just now, I definitely can't withstand it. Night Sorrow looked at the Baiyu who flew away, secretly feeling some lingering fear. The other party was a genius after all. After advancing to Heavenly Supreme, her divine essence power was indeed a little more robust than his. It was just that, at the critical moment, she was frightened by him and fled in defeat. Otherwise, the one who lost this time might really be Night Sorrow. It's still you who can keep your composure. If I expended all of it, I can't be so calm no matter what. Bai Mei Sanren transmitted with a smile. Regarding the matter of Night Sorrow scaring Baiyu away, he and Shen Qingyun and the rest were all very impressed. This valley is too special. Not only is the time different from the outside world, divine essence power consumption is also very horrifying when fighting. Absolutely can't stay for long. Finally, Night Sorrow said a word and chose a direction, immediately leaving the valley. Not long after leaving, Night Sorrow heard Baiyu, who was not far away, emitting a scream. It should be that Baiyu encountered other cultivators under the situation where she expended all of it. It seemed like she was being ravaged. If the cultivator she encountered was only vicious and merciless, I'm afraid that after killing him, he'll come and find me immediately. After analyzing the situation, Yishan consumed a few pills to recover his primordial spirit energy. He hid in a cave and began to recover. He was clear that it was absolutely impossible to wander around under the situation where his divine essence power was depleted. At this time, with Baiyu and the male cultivator who ravaged her as a shield, the safest place in front of him was in front of him. Roughly an hour later, Baiyu's screams completely disappeared, and at this time, Night Sorrow also recovered. He had just recovered when a thunderous roar sounded out in the void. After listening to the show for so long, you should also come out and fight, right? Very clearly, this was the other party preparing to continue fighting with Night Sorrow after ravaging Baiyu to death. Stealing incense. Chapter 3146. Another opponent who has just become a heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow looked over and used the eye of the sea serpent to see that it was a cultivator with a human body and a dragon body. At this moment, he was still in a state of excitement. Seeing that Night Sorrow was sizing him up, he sneered, haha. Playing with a female cultivator has consumed a lot of divine origin energy. I can eat you to make up for it. Eat me? How arrogant of you. Why don't I break your dog head? Night Sorrow took out the golden heavenly halberd. He, who had completely recovered his divine origin energy, did not hesitate to use the Treistrimsa battle mystic technique. He knew that with his current realm, it was still difficult to fight against a heavenly sovereign. Therefore, he had to go all out. Stubborn? She was stubborn just now, but wasn't she completely conquered by me in the end? A sinister and disdainful smile appeared on Long Haotian's face. In his opinion, although a lower earthly sovereign like Night Sorrow should have some ability, he was definitely not his match. You only took advantage of her depleted divine origin energy. Come, let me see if you really have the strength. Yi Shang roared and unleashed the Qingxian godly spear technique to attack. How dare you be so brave when you can't even withstand a single blow? Long Haotian said contemptuously in the face of Night Sorrow's attack. Then, he took out a long spear that was shining with a yellow light. He did not use any unique skills and attacked Night Sorrow. You don't even use any unique skills. Aren't you being too arrogant? Seeing that Long Haotian did not even use any unique skills, Night Sorrow sneered. At the same time, he increased the strength of his attack. Boom! 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 After several consecutive confrontations, Night Sorrow had the upper hand. If that's all you have, you're definitely not that female cultivator's match. After Night Sorrow gained the upper hand, he had the intention to be unforgiving and continuously suppressed him. This was the essence of the Qingxian divine spear technique. It was continuous and had a strong explosive power, but the consumption was a little high. If I can kill her, I can naturally torture you. Long Sidian bellowed in disdain before he completely ignited the power of his bloodline. After burning his bloodline power, his arms and neck were covered in scales. In the blink of an eye, the aura around him also increased by quite a bit. Cloud gathering, waterspout. After Long Sitian's strength increased, he immediately unleashed his clan's lost skill. In an instant, the color of the sky changed, and strong winds blew. This caused the sand and gravel on the ground to fly up and form a huge vortex. After the vortex was formed, it surrounded Long Sidian as if it had merged with him. With great momentum, it attacked Night Sorrow. Divine Origin Trapping Array. Dragon Roar and Phoenix Cry. Facing Long Haotian's attack, Night Sorrow did not continue to use the golden heavenly halberd. Instead, he trapped his opponent and used the dragon's roar and phoenix's cry. Together with the tornado, they were trapped in a sealed space. Not only was Long Haotian's attack interrupted, he could even feel his divine soul being shaken. It made him feel very uncomfortable. Do you like trapping others? Very good. Heavenly Dragon Umbrella. Out. Long Haotian, who felt that his divine soul was damaged, immediately took out a secret treasure from his spatial artifact and threw it into the air. The Heavenly Dragon Umbrella was summoned and immediately began to spin. At the same time, countless silver threads shot out. After these silver threads appeared, they quickly formed a net and attacked Night Sorrow from all directions. Long Haotian wanted to use this net to trap Night Sorrow inside and then attack. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. At this moment, Night Sorrow was using the Eternal Life Amplification Spear that had just been strengthened recently. When Night Sorrow learned this spear, its grade was not high. At this moment, when he used it, the principle was similar to when he used it in the past, but the attributes were completely different. It was not weak. On the contrary, the moment he used it, Long Haotian felt as if time had stopped. He was temporarily paralyzed. Not good. Why can't I break free? While Long Haotian felt that he was paralyzed, the speed of the net in the void was also much slower. It looked as if it was in slow motion. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow naturally dodged the net easily and stabbed at him with the golden heavenly halberd. Stop. At this moment, Long Haotian seemed to be immersed in an eternal nightmare and could not control his body at all. He could only wait quietly for Night Sorrow's attack. You are inferior to her. Seeing that Long Haotian was frozen by the Eternal Life Amplification Spear, Night Sorrow coldly roared and stabbed the golden heavenly halberd into Long Haotian's dantian. Impossible. This is impossible. By the time Long Haotian could move, his dantian had already been crippled. Nothing is impossible. You are inferior to her and your strength is much weaker. Not only is her strength stronger than you, she is also stronger than me. But she is defeated in terms of temperament. Night Sorrow said and directly destroyed Long Haotian's divine soul. He did not give him any chance to counterattack. Yi Shang knew very well that there were no good people in this mountain range. After killing him, he took Long Haotian's spatial device. Before Night Sorrow could check, he sensed that someone was approaching. He, who had consumed a lot of energy, did not want to continue fighting. Therefore, he used his movement skill and rushed into the distance. After leaving a distance, Night Sorrow looked back with the sea serpent's eye. It was another cultivator who had just become a heavenly supreme. He could not help but complain, I'm really unlucky. I've met all the people who have become heavenly supremes. I wonder when this evil will be over. The one who tied the bell should untie it. I guess that the curse can only be lifted by killing that dancing woman, right? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiaowu said with some uncertainty. Even if it's true, it won't be easy to find that dancing woman. I think it's better to find a place and quietly wait for all kinds of opponents. I think there aren't many cultivators left in the mountain range. After saying this, Night Sorrow landed on a hillside and sat on a bluestone under a huge tree to recover his divine origin energy. However, his divine origin energy had not completely recovered. A familiar figure appeared in front of him. This familiar figure was the dancing woman they had just mentioned. At this time, the dancing woman had also advanced to the heavenly supreme level. Seeing that Yi Shang was recovering, a cruel smile appeared on the face of the swaying woman, who was floating in the air. She said, I've finally found you. The descent of all evil can end here. I didn't expect that you would also advance to the heavenly supreme level. Originally, Night Sorrow and the dancing woman were evenly matched. Now that the other party had advanced to the heavenly supreme level, he felt that it would be difficult for him to fight against her. After saying this, he directly activated the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique and burned his bloodline power to use his movement skill to run wildly. Want to run? Can you run? At this time, the dancing woman was like a ghost floating in the void, but her speed was not slow at all. With a sneer, he chased after her. I want to talk to more like-minded people about becoming a god, follow excellent reading literature, on WeChat, talk about life, find confidence. Stealing incense. Chapter 31:47. In the process of chasing, the dancing woman's eyes kept shooting out black rays. These black rays carried a strong corrosive aura, which caused Night Sorrow a lot of trouble. Because he couldn't use the power of merit, after being hit by the light, a small area of his body quickly festered. If it weren't for Night Sorrow's high physical strength, not only would his skin fester, but it would also penetrate deep into his bones. This can't go on. I'm no match for her in battle, and I'm continuously attacked from a distance when I escape. I might as well lure her to the heavenly sovereign just now. The way of life for the time being, he was no match for the dancing woman, but Night Sorrow wasn't depressed because of this. He knew that the other party was also a genius-level figure. With a gap of a whole realm, it was normal for him to be no match for her. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow lured the dancing woman to the place where he had just met the heavenly sovereign. I can make use of the eye technique she's using to attack that heavenly sovereign. While running in that direction, Night Sorrow thought of a countermeasure. At this time, the dancing woman had been attacking him with her eye technique, so he would lure her to attack the heavenly sovereign just now. Sigh. There are so many geniuses in this foggy area. There aren't many heavenly sovereigns in the entire eternal supreme world. They're popping up like they're free. The great calamity has begun. How can our eternal supreme world fight against them? When Night Sorrow fled to the expected location, Baimei Sanren in the space grotto heaven said very pessimistically. Ever since he came to the foggy area, he felt like he had suffered a blow. The overall strength of this foggy area was thousands of times stronger than the eternal supreme world. The two sides were not on the same level at all. There's hope as long as we're alive. Don't we still have time to grow? Hearing Baimei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow responded and continued, in terms of the number of experts, our eternal supreme world is definitely no match for the foggy area. But if a few Supreme Realm experts appear among us and suppress the other party in terms of absolute combat power, then there's hope for survival. It is precisely because of this that I hope to quickly find a suitable body for senior longevity. At this point, Night Sorrow no longer avoided Baimei Sanren and the others when talking about supreme longevity. After Night Sorrow finished, Baimei Sanren sighed and continued, it's easier said than done. It's not easy, but hope hasn't been cut off. This proves that there's still hope. The path of cultivation had always been one that defied the heavens. So what if the chances are small? While using his movement technique to escape, Yishan continued to talk to Wanderer Whitebrow. To him, as long as he was alive, the thoughts in his heart would never be severed. You're quite fast. Just as Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanren were communicating, Dancing Lady, who had been chasing after them, gradually became angry. This was because she realized that although she was stronger than Night Sorrow, their speed was about the same. Although she could use her eye techniques to constantly exhaust Night Sorrow, she couldn't completely catch up to him. This made her very uncomfortable and angry. I should be faster than you. Night Sorrow originally didn't want to mock her, but now he realized that the two of them were very close to the Heavenly Supreme in front of them. The Heavenly Supreme in front of them had probably discovered their existence. However, the Heavenly Supreme in front of them was obviously hiding in the dark. Dancing Lady probably hadn't discovered his existence at all. Therefore, he deliberately lured Dancing Lady to launch an even fiercer attack. What's the use of being fast? Without strength, you can only wait for death. Thousand Phantom Light. Still unable to catch up to Night Sorrow, Dancing Lady was completely furious. She directly summoned thousands of eyeballs and used these eyeballs to launch a fierce attack. This was the race's unique skill that she had awakened after advancing to the Heavenly Supreme level. It was very powerful. Good. Good. The more powerful, the better. Seeing that Dancing Lady had launched such a powerful attack, Night Sorrow immediately used an even more powerful movement technique to dodge. Although some of the Thousand Phantom Light bombarded him, He knew that if he could find an opportunity to use the power of merit, he would definitely be able to recover quickly. Therefore, he wasn't too worried. As for most of the attacks in the Thousand Phantom Light, they were all aimed at the Heavenly Supreme in the dark. Bastard! If you want to fight, then fight. How dare you attack me? Although the Heavenly Supreme who was attacked by the Thousand Phantom Light dodged most of the attacks, he was still completely furious. After all, in the mountain range, he was extremely excited. The desire to fight was extremely strong, and he couldn't control his fighting spirit at all. The one I want to kill is him. This has nothing to do with you. Stay away. Dancing Lady glanced at the Heavenly Supreme in front of her and said coldly. Then, she continued to attack Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow simply stopped running and started to fight with Dancing Lady. The two of them looked as if they didn't care about the nearby Heavenly Supremes at all. This completely enraged Ape Tianlai. He roared unhappily, "Do the two of you really think that I, Ape Tianlai, am easy to bully? Die, all of you." After roaring, he attacked Night Sorrow and Dancing Lady. Very quickly. The battle became a fierce battle between the three of them. Both Ape Tianlai and Dancing Lady were severely affected by the dark aura. They fought very crazily and didn't care about their targets at all. Night Sorrow maintained a certain level of rationality. His goal was very clear, and that was to protect himself. Under the support of this tactic, he basically only defended and didn't attack. Gradually, Ape Tianlai and Dancing Lady's guard against him became much lower. Later on, the attacks they used against him became much weaker. This night demon is quite cunning. It's just that his strength is too weak. He can't fight against the other two and will be killed in the end. As the battle between Ape Tianlai and Dancing Lady unfolded, Lin Dongqing, who was watching through the bronze mirror, had a look of disdain. He despised Night Sorrow's way of protecting himself. At this moment, Elder Su smiled and said, "In the mountains, being able to maintain one's rationality is also a kind of strength. Although he's not as strong as the other two, his thinking in battle is clearly clearer than the other two. This is very rare. After all, he's only a lower earthly sovereign. And our Lu Tian Academy hasn't recruited a cultivator of this level. If he can advance, it'll be a good story." Indeed. And he's not far from the final advancement. At this moment, there are still 15 cultivators left in the mountains. And there are also fierce battles in the other areas. As long as he continues to persevere, he'll soon advance. Elder Murong, who was standing at the side, also said. At this point in time, the preliminaries were nearing their end. Following the progress of a few battles, the 10 people who could successfully advance were about to be born. I didn't expect him to take advantage of this loophole. After Elder Murong finished speaking, Lin Dongqing looked at the other bronze mirrors. At this moment, Night Sorrow's condition was considered good. If there were no accidents, he would most likely advance. This made him very unhappy, and he secretly thought of a countermeasure. Stealing incense. Chapter 3148. That's it. The problem now is that if this continues, Night Demon will advance because the others have been eliminated. If I mediate the battles in the other areas, then he will have to fight to the end. This lowly lower earthly sovereign will definitely fall. After thinking for a while, Lin Dongqing quickly came up with a countermeasure. However, before Lin Dongqing could execute his plan, there was a change in the battle. At this moment, under the continuous attacks of Dancing Lady, Ape Tianlai completely exploded. As he roared into the sky, his body's strength instantly increased by nearly 10 times. He held the giant rod in his hand and crazily smashed it at Dancing Lady. It's a good thing that such a strong attack isn't aimed at me. Otherwise, with Dancing Lady's interference, I wouldn't be able to withstand it. Seeing Ape Tianlai's powerful attack, Night Sorrow said with lingering fear. At this moment, Dancing Lady wasn't having a good time either. After Ape Tianlai exploded, coupled with Night Sorrow's interference, it was very difficult for her to deal with him. Although Night Sorrow's strength was slightly weaker than hers and Ape Tianli's, it was definitely not something the two of them could ignore. Die. The berserk Ape Tianli completely ignored him and continued his frenzied attacks. His crazy appearance was like an ordinary person going crazy. It looked a little evil. Obviously, this was the effect of the fog in the mountain range. Night Sorrow thought for a while and felt that if he got rid of Dancing Lady and used his speed to get rid of Ape Tianli, he could successfully save his life. Thus, he directly shot the godly shot at Dancing Lady. The difference between this shot and the previous one was that its attack power was much stronger, and the attributes it contained had reached the level of a heavenly sovereign. Therefore, even a heavenly sovereign like Dancing Lady would be threatened. You're forcing me to use my true strength. Facing Ape Tianli and Night Sorrow's attacks, Dancing Lady was completely enraged. As she roared, she summoned thousands of eyeballs again. They floated in the void. These eyeballs seemed to be even more evil than before. This might have something to do with her advancing into a heavenly sovereign. Seeing Dancing Lady summon her eyeballs again, Night Sorrow suddenly felt his hair stand on end, and a bad premonition flashed in his heart. Kill. 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 Yuan Tianli, on the other hand, seemed to have gone completely berserk. He didn't care about anything else and just kept attacking Hasa woman. Wan. Evil. Descend. Lin. At this moment, Dancing Woman once again used Descend of all evil. This time, Night Sorrow discovered that her evil intentions had already disappeared without a trace. Even if he wanted to hide, he didn't know where to hide. He could only flee into the distance. Trying to escape. How could it be that easy? Divine Origin Trapping Array. Seeing that Night Sorrow wanted to escape, a strange smile appeared on Dancing Woman's face. He cast a Divine Essence Trapping Array in the direction Night Sorrow had fled. This move was very similar to the Divine Essence Trapping Array that Night Sorrow executed before, but the power was slightly weaker. It could only stop Night Sorrow for a moment. It was at this moment that Night Sorrow felt as if he had been hit by the descent of all evil once again. Looks like he was going to be plagued by bad luck again. However, what's going on with her Divine Essence Trapping Array? After being hit by the descent of all evil again, Night Sorrow was relatively calm. However, he couldn't figure out why Dancing Woman could use the Divine Essence Trapping Array. Moreover, if she could use it, why didn't she trap him back then? That way, he wouldn't have been able to escape. It's very strange. Why can I use your technique? Let me tell you, my eye technique can copy anyone's ultimate skill. Dancing Woman clearly saw the doubts in Night Sorrow's heart. As she roared, she said, "As for why I didn't trap you just now, it's because I wanted to use the two of you to stimulate my potential. Looks like I did it. Transform." Just as Dancing Woman roared the word transform, she immediately transformed from her human form into the appearance of an eyeball. This eyeball looked like an extremely evil black hole. Being stared at by it, Night Sorrow immediately felt very awkward. At this moment, Ape Tianli had been hit by the descent of all evil in his berserk state. His aura had weakened a lot. However, his aura had become even more berserk, but it was difficult for him to attack Dancing Woman's body. He could only attack the thousands of small eyeballs in the void. That blockhead seems to have gone crazy. Why is his attack so messy? In the Space Grotto Heaven, seeing that Ape Tianli's attack was still powerful but messy, Little Seven immediately complained. Hearing Little Seven's complaint, Night Sorrow said, "I think he must be in a berserk state and has been completely affected by the black gas in the mountain range. Therefore, he can't control himself. He's completely lost. Then what should we do? If he's killed, you definitely won't be able to escape from Dancing Woman." Little Seven said worriedly. "It's not that I can't escape from her, but I might have to use the ancient coffin." As Night Sorrow replied, he thought about how to save Ape Tianli. After all, saving him was equivalent to saving himself. "I didn't expect the two of you to be so weak. But since you've stimulated my potential, I'll let you go. I'll leave your corpses intact. Soul Eater bewildering light. At this moment, Dancing Woman, who had turned into a black hole, let out a deafening roar. She attacked Night Sorrow and Ape Tianlai at the same time. She believed that under the interference of the descent of all evil, Night Sorrow and Ape Tianlai wouldn't be able to escape from her most powerful technique. And after Whirling Woman attacked, Night Sorrow immediately felt that his life was in danger. Without hesitation, he took out the spatial device with the ancient coffin and used it to block in front of him. This time, Night Sorrow learned his lesson and didn't summon the ancient coffin directly. Boom! Boom! Dancing Woman shot out 2 beams of Soul Eater bewildering light. One of them landed on Ape Tianlia's body and almost killed him completely. It made him lose his ability to fight and regain his consciousness. After completely regaining his consciousness, Ape Tianlai looked around and thought, my life is over. According to his judgment, Dancing Woman would definitely kill him and Night Sorrow. There was no suspense. The other beam of Soul Eater bewildering light hit the ring that Night Sorrow had taken out. Because the ancient coffin was in the ring, when it was hit, a large amount of black gas suddenly appeared outside the ring. This black gas completely devoured the Soul Eater bewildering light, causing it to not cause a single ripple. This ancient coffin is indeed powerful. Seeing that the ancient coffin in the spatial ring had directly blocked the Soul Eater bewildering light, Night Sorrow immediately heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, to outsiders, only his spatial ring was powerful, but they couldn't see the existence of the ancient coffin. Seeing that the Soul Eater bewildering light didn't have any effect on Night Sorrow, Dancing Woman said in surprise, what kind of secret treasure is that? It can actually block my Soul Eater bewildering light. Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3149. It's a secret treasure that you can't break. Night Sorrow looked at Dancing Lady and said word by word. Dancing Lady didn't refute. Instead, she said, I can't kill you, but you can't kill me either. With that, Dancing Lady didn't wait for Night Sorrow to react and fled the scene vigilantly. She was afraid that Night Sorrow's ring could unleash shocking attacks. This worry wasn't without reason. After Dancing Lady left, Night Sorrow heaved a sigh of relief. However, he also knew that his secret had been exposed. He thought to himself that he had suffered a loss this time. At that moment, he saw that Ape Tianlai, who was not far away, had returned to his original form after being attacked. It was a giant ape with a huge body. He looked like a small mountain, with a sense of solid strength. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes, which made him look a little strange. Is this because he was hit by the Soul Eater bewildering light? It does feel like he's missing a soul. After sizing up Ape Tianlai, Night Sorrow felt that taking in a heavenly supreme battle pet was definitely better than killing it directly. Therefore, he wanted to make the other party acknowledge him as his master. At that moment, although Ape Tianlia's body was still at the heavenly supreme level, his strength hadn't decreased much. However, his soul had obviously been destroyed, and his entire person was a little abnormal. When Night Sorrow wanted to make him acknowledge him as his master, he chose to submit directly. Ape Tianlai? Why does this name sound so familiar? After Ape Tianlai acknowledged him as his master, Night Sorrow learned his name and felt that he had met someone with this name before. However, he didn't have time to be surprised. He left the place and found a hidden valley to treat the other party. After Ape Tianlai swallowed some pills, his body recovered a lot, but his soul was still a little abnormal. Night Sorrow directly put him into his spatial artifact. I'm afraid ordinary pills won't be able to cure him. I can only try the power of merit and see if it works. Night Sorrow summoned him into his spatial artifact and immediately used his power of merit to treat Ape Tianlai. After being purified by his power of merit, some of the filthy aura on Ape Tianlia's body gradually disappeared, and he slowly regained consciousness. You saved me, but enslaved me? After regaining consciousness and realizing that he had recognized Night Sorrow as his master, Ape Tianlai immediately roared with mixed emotions. He couldn't accept the reality in front of him. It's not really slavery. We're just fighting side by side. Feel your own aura. Although Yen Tianlai was extremely agitated, Night Sorrow wasn't worried in the slightest in his space paradise. Me? How could this be? Could it be that you came from outside the fog? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Ape Tianlai realized that the black chi surrounding him had disappeared. What replaced it was pure and flawless divine essence energy. This made him very shocked. Yes. Strictly speaking, all of you are from the eternal supreme world. It's just that your minds have been corroded by the fog. I'm saving you. Night Sorrow said slowly. I know. I have memories of the eternal paragon world. Ape Tianlai thought about it for a moment, then seemed to realize what was going on. He thought about it for a long time. Then he said, in my memories, all of my clansmen were killed. The eternal supreme world has been completely destroyed. Almost none of the cultivators survived. Is there still an eternal supreme world? Yes. After several cycles of recuperation, many of the cultivators in the eternal supreme world have grown up again. The strongest is already a heavenly supreme. Moreover, Yen is still alive. Night Sorrow explained the current situation of the eternal supreme world to Ape Tianlai. Then he said, but now, the fog is going to attack the eternal supreme world again. The situation is as dangerous as pulling 1,000 caddies. What? I've just woken up from a dream. The eternal supreme world is going to be destroyed again? With the strength of the fog, if they attack the eternal supreme world, we won't be able to resist at all. After being corroded by the fog for so many years, Ape Tianlai had naturally come into contact with many experts in the fog. He knew the difference between the two sides. Protecting the eternal supreme realm is an extremely difficult path to tread. But it doesn't have to be a dead end. If we work hard, there's a chance. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and continued to speak to Ape Tianlai. Oh. Not to mention the others, just the 3 great experts in the fog were not people that Yen could deal with alone. How can the eternal supreme world protect itself in the hands of the 3 of them? Ape Tianlai said slowly. To ordinary people, the 3 experts in the fog were godlike existences. They made it impossible for people to even think of fighting against them. You're right. If we want to protect the eternal supreme world, we have to face the 3 experts directly. If we want to defeat them, we have to nurture our own supreme realm experts. Yen alone won't do. Night Sorrow said and then revealed his purpose of entering the Lu Tian Academy. Hearing this, Ape Tianlai frowned and said, hope is as slim as finding a needle in a haystack. It's better than giving up. Night Sorrow said firmly. That was his personality. No matter how difficult the road ahead was, he would not stop and give up. All right. I'm willing to help you, but the dark aura on my body has all disappeared. I shouldn't be able to show myself to others anymore. Ape Tianlai continued. After being calm for so long, he had already accepted the fact that he had recovered and was very grateful to Night Sorrow. However, he felt that he should not be able to walk normally in the fog because that would expose his identity as the eternal supreme world. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, if I can walk normally, so can you. Then, he sent Ape Tianlai into the space where the ancient coffin was and said, come and absorb the ancient coffin's aura. You'll be able to recover very quickly. After we enter the academy, we'll fight side by side. To others, I've already been eliminated. From now on, I'll be by your side and fight with you. Ape Tianlai, who was absorbing the black aura, said. Suddenly, he thought of something. He said in shock, this ancient coffin of yours, I think I've heard Mia mention it before. What? Mia mentioned it before? What's going on? Night Sorrow immediately asked when he heard this. According to what he said, this ancient coffin is very likely the coffin that buried the world. It seems like there's a ruined world buried inside. Which is the world of our previous selves. Yen Tianlai recalled some of the things he had heard before and said slowly, word by word. Coffin that buried the world? Are you sure? Night Sorrow was shocked when he heard the words of the coffin that buried the world. According to his thoughts, this ancient coffin was very likely to contain a fallen Supreme Realm expert. I'm not sure. Mia was just guessing. Also, I'm not sure if this ancient coffin is the one he mentioned. The coffin that buried the world shook its head and said. But no matter what it said shocked Night Sorrow greatly. Stealing incense. Chapter 3150. If there's really a ruined world buried in the world burial coffin, what would it be like? After Yen Tianlai said that, Night Sorrow started to ponder. He felt that it was hard for him to believe the exact situation inside with his own imagination. But no matter what, he was still shocked. However, he wasn't sure if this had anything to do with their future. It's all a legend. Mia probably doesn't know what's going on either. Let's take it one step at a time. After all, this is your shield for now. Yen Tianlai continued. As his memory continued to recover, he was becoming more and more comfortable with Night Sorrow. At that moment, Night Sorrow introduced Bai Mei Sanren to him. After learning that Bai Mei Sanren used to be Yan's subordinate, Yen Tianlai was very respectful to him, even though his cultivation was high. After all, Yen and Yen Hengshi were the ones who carried the Eternal Supreme World forward. Oh right. Do you know Lin Dongqing's background? He's in Lu Tian Academy. What's his background like? Night Sorrow asked. He knew that after Lin Dongqing knew about his secret treasure, he would definitely think of ways to seize it. I'm not sure what his background is in the academy. But the Lin family he's from is one of the big families in the fog. He should be in the top 30. Yen Tianlai said slowly as he recalled. Then, Night Sorrow analyzed the situation. Yen Tianlai said, in the academy, if you can show strong talent, he won't dare to do anything to you. But if you behave properly, you'll most likely be dealt with. All right. For now, let's fight to enter Lu Tian Academy. Night Sorrow said and continued to roam the mountain range. About half a month later, he met another heavenly supreme opponent. This time, with Yen Tianlia's help, Night Sorrow successfully killed him. This ant's luck is really not bad. He actually got lucky and made Yen Tianlai, who was defeated by Whirling Lady, recognize him as his master. But that ring of his is really not ordinary. Lin Dongqing, who was looking at the bronze mirror, had always been hostile to Night Sorrow. He knew that after Yen Tianlai became Night Sorrow's battle pet, there was no doubt that Night Sorrow would advance to the top 10. Even if he wanted to control him, it would be difficult, so he didn't care. He was going to wait for Night Sorrow to enter Lu Tian Academy and then find an opportunity to attack him. After Lin Dongqing was done praising him, Elder Su reminded him, there are only 11 people left in the monitoring room. Furthermore, Ape Tianlai had already become the Night Demon's battle pet. Could he announce the end of the competition and give out the rewards? If they continue to fight, they'll be killed. Yen, as you say. Lin Dongqing said impatiently and announced the result of the advancement. In the end, the last 10 people who persevered would be selected by Lu Tian Academy and successfully advance to the next round. When these 10 people were brought back to the city, they immediately caused a commotion. Among the crowd, Bao Tutian and Enling were the ones who paid the most attention to Night Sorrow. Seeing that Night Sorrow had made it to the top 10, Bao Tutian was so excited that he couldn't speak. He knew that Bao Tutian city's reputation would rise because of this. Representatives of the cities where the winners are from, please come to the stage to receive your rewards. While Bao Tutian was excited, Elder Murong suddenly made an announcement on the stage. Hearing that, Bao Tutian was so excited that he didn't realize what was going on for a long time. At this moment, Night Sorrow said to him telepathically, "My lord, it's time to go to the stage to receive your rewards." Only then did Bao Tutian wake up from Fan Jin's state of mind. Great! I'm coming. I'm coming. After flying to the stage, Bao Tutian hugged Night Sorrow in excitement and then received his city reward. Needless to say, Bao Tuqian City would have a bright future after receiving the rewards from Lu Tian Academy. However, after the city rewards were released, things took a turn for the worse. That was because Lin Dongqing was not willing to give out the rewards to the participants. Originally, he was going to give most of the rewards to Lin Donghai, but now that Lin Donghai had been killed, he didn't want to give the rewards to anyone else. That also made Elder Su and the others unhappy. Under the persuasion of the four elders, Lin Dongqing gave some rewards to Knight Sorrow and the others. He kept most of them. Lin Dongqing obviously kept a lot of the rewards. He must have a strong backer in the academy to make it so obvious. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so bold. Seeing Lin Dongqing's behavior, Yan Tianlai made a judgment and reminded Knight Sorrow to be careful. Because everyone could see that Lin Dongqing was a bold and reckless person. Knight Sorrow had a conflict with him, so he would definitely target him. Alright. After the rewards are released, the 10 winners will follow us back to Lu Tian Academy. As for the rest, you're dismissed. Let me remind you that you can't stay here for long unless it's during the selection. Lin Dongqing said coldly when Knight Sorrow and Yan Tianlai were talking. He took out a kite. After the kite was taken out, it quickly expanded infinitely until it was the size of a pavilion. Lin Dongqing called the 10 winners and the 4 elders to go up and bring them back to Lu Tian Academy. Lin Dongqing and the 4 elders waited for the kite to fly up before they went inside to rest. Knight Sorrow and the other 9 winners stood outside, staring at each other blankly. At this time, Knight Sorrow carefully observed the others who had advanced with him. 2 of them had fought with him before. They were the dancing woman and the androgynous male cultivator. Apart from them, no one else had interacted with Knight Sorrow before. Among these 10 people, apart from Knight Sorrow, there were 7 Sky Supremes and 2 half-step Sky Supremes. Compared to them, his cultivation level was really not enough. This also attracted the most attention for Knight Sorrow. Everyone knew that every batch of students had to fight side by side and compete with each other to become the strongest. Just like Lin Dongqing, the strongest person would receive all kinds of rewards from the academy. Most of the others looked at Knight Sorrow with surprise, but the dancing woman was very wary. She knew that Knight Sorrow had a defensive secret treasure that she could not break, so she did not want to fight him head-on. After thinking for a while, the dancing woman sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow, Night Demon. When we enter the academy, the 2 of us might be able to cooperate. What do you think? If you want to talk about cooperation, shouldn't you first remove the descent of all evil on me and Yan Tianlai? Hearing the dancing woman's voice transmission, Knight Sorrow replied. At this time, the dancing woman observed Knight Sorrow and said, "The effect of the descent of all evil on you has long been removed. As for the one on him, I can help remove it. But we'll have to wait until after we enter the academy. I want to talk about ascension to godhood with more like-minded people. I want to follow advanced reading literature on WeChat, talk about life, and find friends." Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3151. The descent of all evil effect on me has been lifted? Are you sure? Knight Sorrow asked after Dancing Lady finished speaking. Hearing this, Dancing Lady replied, "The first time, the descent of all evil effect on you has been lifted automatically. The second time, I just lifted it for you. Sense your body, it's completely different from when you were plagued by bad luck. Good. At least you're sincere. As for whether we cooperate or not, we'll talk about it when we get to the academy." Knight Sorrow sensed his body and used the sea serpent's eye to look. When he found that he was indeed fine, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. After all, if he entered the academy in a state of bad luck, he might encounter something unlucky. If his identity was exposed because of such a small matter, it would not be worth it. Good. During the preliminaries, battles are all for advancement. It's good that you don't hold a grudge. Seeing that Knight Sorrow did not directly refuse, Dancing Lady felt that there was still a chance for cooperation and continued to respond in a friendly manner. The preliminaries battles can be overturned. However, if you enter the academy and have any schemes against me, I won't be able to forgive you. In this regard, Night Sorrow replied and sent a voice transmission to Ape Tianlai. It's a bit hard on you, but if you enter the academy with me, you can also get a lot of resources. We are all people of the eternal supreme world. It's too polite of you to say this. Ape Tianlai said and suddenly asked, by the way. My race is considered to be quite a powerful force in the foggy area. Can you purify all of them? After all, we are all people of the eternal supreme world. It's too tragic to be enslaved by the fog area forever. If they are willing to cooperate, I can naturally purify everyone. But if there are experts among them who don't cooperate, I can't force them. Night Sorrow said. Ape Tianlia's words obviously gave Night Sorrow a hint of inspiration. In this fog area, including the big families, basically everyone was from the eternal supreme world. If they were purified, they would remember their past and present lives. Except for those who took the initiative to join the fog area, basically all of them would fight for the eternal supreme world. After all, for cultivators, the loyalty of their country was still very important. If Night Sorrow could gather as many elite fighters as possible, it would be a huge boost to the eternal supreme world. Very good. But from the looks of it, my strength is still a little weak. Once I break through to become a Sky Supreme, I'll be able to do it. The people in the foggy area would never have thought that I could do this. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow suddenly felt more confident about the future. The strongest person in our clan, the old clan leader, is already an upper heavenly sovereign. He is not far from reaching the half-step to supreme stage. At present, I don't have the confidence to persuade him. Let's wait until our strength increases to a certain level before we try again. No matter what, the Star Ape clan will not be slaves forever. While Night Sorrow was pondering this question, Yen Tianlai said firmly. Good. A single spark can start a prairie fire. I hope that through our own efforts, we can make the Eternal Supreme Realm stronger little by little and have the ability to continue existing. Sensing Ape Tianlia's excitement, Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice. However, just as they were talking, they arrived at the Heaven-Splitting Academy. At this moment, Lin Dongqing said, I'll bring you to see the 3 vice principals. Before that, I want to make it clear to you that the Heaven-Splitting Academy has strict rules and clear hierarchy. At present, you are just the most trashy existence. No matter if you were a dragon or a tiger or a leopard in the past, you need to tuck your tail between your legs and behave yourself. Do you understand? Yes. Understood. After Lin Dongqing finished speaking, the androgynous male cultivator responded directly. As for the others, they all remained silent. No one bothered with Lin Dongqing. Those who could enter this place were all arrogant and unruly people. Of course, they would listen to him. Humph. You'll suffer. Almost no one pandered to him. Lin Dongqing's face immediately darkened. Then, he led the 4 elders and the 10 newly promoted students and slowly flew into the Heaven-Splitting Academy's gate. The Heaven-Splitting Academy's gate was just like the Southern Heavenly Gate. It looked very majestic. From where the gate was, one could clearly feel the existence of a formation. What a powerful formation. This should have been set up by a top expert. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while. He realized that the things contained in the formation were not at the heavenly supreme level. He could not understand it at all. He secretly judged that these formations should be at the supreme level. Based on this, he guessed that these formations should have been set up by those 3 people. Of course. These formations should have been set up by Supremacy Mia. Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Dancing Lady immediately spoke. Supremacy Mia? Looks like this Heaven-Splitting Academy is indeed a core area of the foggy area. After Dancing Lady finished speaking, Night Sorrow immediately understood that these formations were set up by Mia. He once again confirmed that this Heaven-Splitting Academy was not simple. At the same time, he was a little worried that Mia and the other experts would appear in the Heaven-Splitting Academy and see through it. After all, Supreme-level experts were completely different from Heavenly Supremes. Zhao Fu continued to speak to Hasa woman. To be honest, he did not know much about these things. Of course. The three deans behind the Heaven-Splitting Academy are the legendary three sovereigns, which are also the three supreme supremes. Naturally, it's one of the core areas of the foggy area. Whirling woman said naturally. At this moment, Yen Tianlai sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. This dancing lady seems to be a native of the foggy area. Their race did not look like this at first. It was only after the foggy area was ruled by the three supreme supremes that they gradually transformed into human form. You have to be careful with her. Don't try to purify her with the power of merit. Don't worry. Night Sorrow replied. Then, he chatted with Dancing Lady about the Heaven-Splitting Academy again. After talking for a while, Night Sorrow realized that everyone, including Dancing Lady and the androgynous male cultivator, basically had connections in the academy. He was the only one who had fought his way in alone. It seems like it's really not easy to survive if I don't find someone to ally with. Night Sorrow thought to himself after entering the Heaven-Splitting Academy with Lin Dongqing. However, he knew that to him, the first round of entering the Heaven-Splitting Academy was the selection. The second round was definitely not about how to survive in the academy. It was about how to pass the inspection of the three vice deans and successfully enter the Heaven-Splitting Academy. Although the three vice deans were not supreme level experts, they were all half a step to the supreme level and had lived for many years. Their eyesight was definitely not something a newly ascended heavenly supremes could compare to. Therefore, he was a little worried that these people would see something. Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3152. Don't worry too much. It's been many years since a cultivator from the Eternal Supreme World appeared in the fog area. As for those who came to the core area, you're the only one since ancient times. Even if they're confident that they can tell that you're different, they won't be able to determine your true identity. Ape Tianlai, who knew Night Sorrow's worries, was afraid that Night Sorrow would reveal a flaw. As they walked towards the academy, he spoke. In fact, what he said was the truth. In the eyes of everyone in the fog area, it was impossible for someone from the Eternal Supreme World to come to the core area of the fog. Therefore, normally, no one would doubt this matter. All right. I understand. Don't worry, I won't reveal any flaws. As Night Sorrow responded, he suddenly stood closer to Dancing Lady. At this moment, he noticed that the hermaphrodite male cultivator also moved closer to Dancing Lady. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe and found that their auras were similar. He secretly judged that the hermaphrodite male cultivator should also be a native of the fog area. As for the other 7 cultivators who had successfully advanced, their auras were very different from the 2 of them. They were somewhat similar to Night Sorrow's aura. They, or rather their ancestors, should all be from the Eternal Supreme World. Regarding this, Night Sorrow didn't have time to think about the pros and cons. Lin Dongqing said, "We're here. When you see the 3 vice deans, you must be extremely respectful. Do you understand?" "Of course we understand. You don't have to say anything." After Lin Dongqing finished speaking, one of the male cultivators said coldly. He looked at Lin Dongqing with obvious hatred in his eyes. One look and one could tell that there was a story between them. "What's your relationship with Gusuhong?" Seeing the male cultivator's unfriendly expression, Lin Dongqing, who looked familiar, asked coldly. "I, Gusu, will avenge my brother." Gusuhong looked at Lin Dongqing and said coldly. Hearing this, Lin Dongqing laughed presumptuously and said, "So it's another bastard from the Gusu family. Let's wait and see." After saying that, Lin Dongqing suddenly thought of something and provoked, "Right, your brother's death was recorded by me. Do you want to take a look?" "No need. But I will record the scene of your death. Send it to the Lin clan." After Gusu said that, she no longer cared about Lin Dongqing. Right at this moment, the 3 vice deans had arrived at the group of floating pavilions that they were waiting for. The 2 of them no longer communicated. Lin Dongqing tidied up his appearance and shouted from afar, Dongqing, I've brought 10 people who have advanced and request an audience with the 3 vice deans. Come in. Around half an hour later, an aged voice could be heard. Yes. Lin Dongqing nodded and led Knight Soro's group, as well as the 4 elders, into the group of floating pavilions. They arrived at a large hall. At this moment, the 3 main seats in the main hall were empty. They were below the 3 empty seats high up on the stage. Each of them had a seat. There were 3 cultivators sitting on the 3 seats. One was an old man, one was a middle-aged woman, and the other was a handsome male cultivator. The 3 of them were none other than the 3 vice presidents of the Lu Tian Academy, Jason, Nangong He, and Andrew. The dark aura on the 3 of them was very strong, giving people an extremely oppressive feeling. This was especially true for Andrew. He looked delicate and pretty, but he gave people the feeling that he was a venomous snake. Jason, who looked like an old man, was the one who had looked at Knight Soro from afar. Seeing everyone arrive, the female cultivator sitting in the middle, Nangong He, took the lead and said, Supervisor Lin, for elders, thank you for your hard work. You've done well. This is your reward. After saying that, she threw a storage ring to Lin Dongqing, Elder Su, and the others. Thank you, Vice Dean Nangong. Lin Dongqing and the others received the reward and hurriedly thanked her. At this time, Nangong He continued, You've received the reward. You can go down now. Yes. Lin Dongqing, who had wanted to stay for a while, retreated with some regret. After they left, the 3 vice deans began to look at Knight Soro and the others. Seeing that Yi Shang only had the cultivation of a lower earthly sovereign, other than Ji Xian, who already knew, the other 2 were interested. Nangong He looked at Knight Soro and said, I want to know, how did you successfully advance from a lower earth sovereign's cultivation? Did you rely on tricks or did you rely on your strength? Reporting to Vice Dean Nangong. I had both strength and luck. Knight Soro immediately replied. At this moment, he had completely brought his identity into the foggy area to prevent any mistakes. Hee, very good. You are very confident. I am optimistic about your future. This is a reward for you. Take it. Nangong He carefully sized up Knight Soro for a moment. She smiled and took out a storage ring, gently throwing it at Knight Soro. Not good. She's testing my strength. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe the storage ring that Nangong He threw out, Knight Soro secretly activated the 33 Heavens battle technique. Then, he used his hand to grab the storage ring that was floating over. When the ring entered his hand, a huge power at the heavenly supreme level immediately came from it. Knight Soro was immediately pushed back by this huge force. This made him a little angry. While resisting with all his might, he roared, Stop! However, after using his strength, he realized that the harder he used, the greater the pushing force of the ring. He could not resist at all. However, just as Knight Soro was about to be pushed out of the hall, Nangong He clapped her hands and said, Good. You are a lower earth sovereign, but you have the strength of a lower heavenly supreme. Your talent is almost not inferior to mine. Your future is promising. Your family will very likely be proud of you in the future. I will classify you as a first-rate genius, 1 grade higher than Lin Dongqing. Yes. Not bad, your talent is indeed astonishing. At this time, Andrew, who had a cold gaze, also carefully sized up Knight Soro. After observing for a while, he said, Your talent is indeed very good. However, there is no good person in the Lu Tian Academy. If you want to achieve something, work hard to survive. I will also classify you as a first-rate genius. It's a pity that you are still a little far from the legendary level. What he means is that he can't see any hope of breaking through to the supreme realm on you. But this is nothing. Since ancient times, there have only been 3 supreme realms in the fog area. No one else can break through. I will also classify you as a first-rate genius. After Andrew finished speaking, he handed over his gift. Then, the old man continued. After saying this, he said, "First-rate geniuses can get a lot, but the challenges they face are also very big. I hope that you can persevere and survive and grow up." After Andrew finished speaking, he also handed over his gift. Originally, Knight Sorrow felt a little touched, but later he realized that every cultivator who advanced had a gift. Moreover, the other 9 people were also divided into different grades. Stealing incense. Chapter 3153. The only person who was classified as a first-grade genius was Yishang. Those who were classified as second-grade geniuses were Dancing Lady, Gusubi, and Su Lei. The rest of the people were all classified as third-grade geniuses. This was the most common category in the Slaughtering Heaven Academy. However, after the division, there were obviously a few people who were not convinced. They were very jealous of Knight Sorrow. But naturally, they would not show it in front of the 3 vice presidents. As for the vice presidents, after classifying Knight Sorrow and the others, Nangong he looked at everyone and said, "The division of grades is not permanent. As cultivation progresses, some people will fall, and some people will rise. In the future, who is strong and who is weak is not destined. When you enter the Slaughtering Heaven Academy, there are only 2 things you need to consider. One is how to survive, and the other is how to become stronger. Do you understand?" "Understood." Knight Sorrow and the others replied in unison. Nangong he nodded in satisfaction and said, "There will be elders of the academy to explain the rules to you. Go." After she finished speaking, a gray-robed elder walked in from the entrance of the hall. He greeted the 3 vice presidents and looked at Knight Sorrow and the others. "Let's go. I'll bring you to enjoy the first meeting gift. You guys follow the gray-robed elder." At this moment, one of the vice presidents, Andrew, said coldly. After he gave the order, the 10 new students all followed the gray-robed elder and left the hall. They flew to a mountain peak in the distance. This mountain peak was a burning mountain of flames. From afar, one could see the flames that reached the sky. "What is this?" Looking at the mountain of flames in front of him, Knight Sorrow asked curiously. His voice was very soft, but it was still heard by Dancing Lady. Hearing Knight Sorrow's question, Dancing Lady smiled playfully and said, "This is the first challenge after entering the Slaughtering Heaven Academy. The test of the Sea of Fire." Test of the Sea of Fire? When Knight Sorrow heard her say this, he immediately realized what would happen, but he naturally didn't know the details. As for Dancing Lady, she didn't say many details, afraid that it would arouse the dissatisfaction of the gray-robed elder. "You're all curious about what's going to happen, aren't you?" At this moment, the gray-robed elder, who knew what everyone was thinking, laughed sinisterly. "Then I'll tell you. This mountain of flames was created by the Emperor of Destruction's palm strike. What you need to do is to stay in it as long as possible. Only by staying for more than 2 hours could one officially become a disciple of the Slaughterer Academy. As for those who stay longer, there will be additional rewards." "I see." Hearing the gray-robed elder's words, not only did Knight Sorrow's doubts disappear, everyone else also understood. Then, many people looked at Knight Sorrow, especially Su Lei, who was in the 2nd tier. She looked very beautiful and had the majestic aura of an empress. However, when she looked at Knight Sorrow, there was an obvious provocation in her eyes. It was obvious that he wasn't satisfied with Knight Sorrow being placed in the 1st tier. "What? Do you have a problem with me?" Seeing Su Lei staring at him, Knight Sorrow sneered and asked. He knew that the people in the fog area were usually more excited and impulsive. When faced with such provocation, if he didn't speak up, it wouldn't be logical at all. "I think that you'll be the first-tier genius to fall in the mountain of flames." Su Lei's eyes seemed to be able to speak. At this moment, they were replaced by a look of sympathy. After hearing her, Knight Sorrow laughed and said, "I'm afraid you'll be the first to worry about the 1st tier for the 2nd tier. Quickly put yourself in your place. Don't be arrogant." "Wrong. His words were very arrogant. This immediately angered Su Lei. She looked at Night Sorrow unhappily and said, "Why don't you and I have a competition to see who can stay in the mountain of flames the longest? Whoever loses will submit to the other." Her words were harsh. The loser would submit to the other. This was not leaving any bottom line. Hearing this, the gray-robed elder laughed dryly and said, "You guys are quite interesting. This elder supports your bet. Since you support it, I choose to bet." Using the sea serpent's eye to look at the mountain of flames and then at Su Lei, Night Sorrow agreed without hesitation. After all, he had the phoenix bloodline in him, and his body was very strong, not inferior to ordinary heavenly sovereigns. Good. However, I have a request. We can't use secret treasures in the mountain of flames. What do you think? Night Sorrow agreed. Su Lei's face immediately showed a hint of a conquering smile, looking a little domineering. After she finished speaking, Night Sorrow nodded with a smile and said, "That's exactly what I want." Good. This elder will bear witness for you. No one is allowed to cheat. After the gray-robed elder finished speaking, he looked at the others and said, "Are there any of you who don't like each other? You can also issue a challenge. To tell you the truth, you will all be opponents in the future. Sooner or later, you will fall out." After he finished speaking, the others looked at each other and didn't say anything. Regarding this, the gray-robed elder was a little disappointed and said, "Boring, no character. Only Su Lei and the Night Demon will have a bright future. You people can't." Although his words caused some people to be dissatisfied, they didn't stand out. Then, the gray-robed elder said, "All right. You can enter the mountain immediately. Remember, if you can't hold on for 2 hours, you can't really enter the Lu Tian Academy. Also, you'd better not try to climb to the peak. Otherwise, you will very likely be burned to ashes." Good. Thank you for the reminder, Elder. Hearing this, Night Sorrow thanked him and looked at Su Lei and said, "Let's go." Night Sorrow had already thought of this when he was in the main hall, that Su Lei didn't like him and challenged him. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Even if Su Lei didn't challenge him, the others would. The only thing that surprised him was that Su Lei's gamble was a little too big. It was a win-or-die situation. No one could afford to lose. With the gray-robed elder as a witness, I believe you will fulfill your promise. I, Su Lei, am probably the first person to be able to obtain a servant with a first-grade talent. Su Lei glanced at Night Sorrow and flew towards the mountain of flames. You'll soon understand why I'm in first gear and you're in second gear. I've just arrived at the Slaughter Academy, and I've already gotten an Empress servant to do my laundry and sweep the floor. Not bad. Yi Shang looked at him with a smile on his face. He could feel that Su Lei must have been an empress or a clan leader somewhere else. His temperament was a little special. He thought to himself that if he could purify her, he would definitely gain a lot. Perhaps, he might be able to obtain a large tribe. Shameless boasting. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Su Lei replied disdainfully. She was in a hurry to bet with Night Sorrow. This was because she knew that this was Night Sorrow's weakest moment. If more time passed, his cultivation would definitely soar. At that time, the difference in talent would be revealed, and Night Sorrow would undoubtedly become the champion of this year's competition. Stealing incense. Chapter 3154. In the eyes of others, Su Lei was obviously a little impatient. But in reality, the time she chose to challenge Night Sorrow was the most appropriate. Because at this time, Night Sorrow had not completely grown up, and he still needed time to improve himself. Whether or not I'm boasting shamelessly, you'll know soon enough. Night Sorrow also knew that Su Lei was very shrewd, and the timing she chose was also very good. At this time, he could not retreat at all, and could only face it head-on. However, he felt that Su Lei had calculated everything, but she had miscalculated one thing, and that was that he had the support of the Phoenix bloodline. Ordinary flames could not pose any threat to him at all. Even if it was the Mountain of Flames, it was not something that ordinary cultivators could withstand. But he was also far more able to withstand it than ordinary cultivators. Night Devil. Wait until you become my slave, then say this. Su Lei took a last look at Night Sorrow, and directly climbed up the burning mountain of flames. Tsk tisk, there's a good show to watch. Just as Su Lei flew towards the mountain of flames, the gray-robed elder laughed playfully. After a moment, Su Lei suddenly shouted. She was fine, but the robe on her body was quickly burned clean by the flames. Su Lei, who screamed, immediately used her divine domain to cover her exposed body, to prevent others from seeing her naked body. What are you looking at? Hurry up and go. At this time, Night Sorrow was also flying towards the mountain of flames. But the other 8 people, including Dancing Woman, were all watching. The gray-robed elder could not help but curse. Urged by the gray-robed elder, the few of them immediately flew towards the mountain of flames with solemn expressions. When they had just flown over, Night Sorrow had already landed halfway up the mountain of flames. This height was no different from Su Lei's. After landing, Night Sorrow's body was also burned clean, but the phoenix armor on his body was still there. And this phoenix armor was not only not burned, but also absorbed the essence of the flames in front of it. This kind of environment, to him, was completely like a fish in water. Very good. But you have to improve yourself. We've already agreed that you can't rely on external objects. Although it's not fate, I still have to take you down. He used his divine domain to resist the invasion of the flames. After saying that, Night Sorrow reluctantly took off the phoenix armor. Let the armor absorb the essence of the flames. He used his own god domain to resist the terrifying flames around him. Compared to ordinary flames, the flames on the mountain of flames were indeed terrifying. Night Sorrow had just taken off his phoenix battle armor when he felt an extremely intense wave of heat. This kind of heat was almost equivalent to the attack power of an ordinary Sky Supreme. It would be difficult for him to withstand it with his body. Although it was simple, Night Sorrow saw Su Lei persevering without moving, so he gritted his teeth and persevered. He couldn't afford to lose this bet no matter what. To Night Sorrow, freedom was the most precious thing. Just like that, they persevered for an hour. Night Sorrow and Su Lei did not have any problems, they were still persevering. At this time, Su Lei suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Flames of this intensity are nothing to you and me. Why don't we increase the height by 1,000 feet? Good. Then let's increase the height by 1,000 feet. After saying that, Yi Shang took the lead in climbing upwards. In order to slowly adapt to the intensity of the flames, he did not fly above 1,000 feet directly. Let's see how you can persevere. Su Lei saw that Night Sorrow had agreed to his request and immediately smiled. Although she was at ease now, she did not dare to underestimate the height below. Like Night Sorrow, she also climbed up step by step. As for the others, the height they chose had not reached Night Sorrow and Su Lei's initial height. They were obviously seeking stability and wanted to persevere for 2 hours first. Seeing this, the gray-robed elder nodded and then shook his head. He said, "There's no problem with your choice. But your choice is equivalent to choosing to be mediocre. In Lu Tian Academy, being mediocre is equivalent to failure." These words were not said loudly. But it was just loud enough for the people on the mountain to hear. Hearing the gray-robed elder's words, Gusubi, who was classified as a second-tier genius like Su Lei, immediately stood up and climbed higher. One of his goals was to kill the previous batch's strongest genius, Lin Dongqing, to avenge his brother. Naturally, he did not want to be mediocre. Looks like I can't fall behind. Seeing Gusubi, an expert of the same level, move first. The last genius, Whirling Woman, who was in the second gear, also moved and began to climb upwards. As for the others present, they had no intention of moving at all. Perhaps to them, being able to enter Lu Tian Academy was already a success. In the academy, being mediocre was not important at all. At the same time, Night Sorrow had already reached the height that he and Su Lei had designated. Then, Su Lei also successfully arrived. This time, she was even closer to Night Sorrow. There was only 1,000 feet between them. They could even see each other's expressions. This woman is using psychological tactics against you. Don't be affected by her. Seeing that Su Lei was deliberately approaching Night Sorrow, Yuan Tianlai, who was in the space cave, immediately reminded her. Don't worry, I know what she's thinking. It should still be light for now. She'll definitely have another move later. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to scan Su Lei and successfully saw through her god territory. He did not covet Su Lei's body, nor did he have any intention of peeping. He saw through her god territory because he was prepared to see through Su Lei's bottom line. According to Night Sorrow's analysis, although Su Lei's god territory was very strong, it should not be able to last long. It was similar to his situation. It would not be long before the god territory could only be used to cover the body. Soon, the two of them would need to use their bodies to resist the flames. Night Sorrow was still very confident in his own body because he had obtained the Phoenix bloodline and had even undergone Nirvana rebirth. His understanding and endurance of flames were very strong. Bastard! This night demon can see through my god territory. At this moment, Su Lei was also transmitting her voice to the people in the space cave. She felt a little embarrassed that Night Sorrow had seen her body. To the organization, if you can make this night demon obey you, you'll have done a great service. What's the big deal about having your body seen through? That's right. To cultivators, the body is nothing. Don't let it disturb your mind. You must win this battle. Su Lei had just finished transmitting her voice when two voices responded to her. Just like Autark and Ling and Autark masked, these two had mentioned the term organization. Obviously, they were from the same faction. Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3155. All right. Hearing the two mention the organization, Su Lei immediately calmed down and activated her bloodline. In fact, the reason why she was about to challenge Night Sorrow was related to the two people in the Grotto Heaven. Both of them were elders of the organization, and had come to assist Su Lei in Lu Tian Academy. They had received news of Night Sorrow from the masked elder and had met her here. They felt that this was fate and immediately asked Su Lei to challenge Night Sorrow. Su Lei, who was already dissatisfied with Night Sorrow, naturally did as she was told. That Su Lei seems to have good self-control. She regained her composure in an instant. Although Yuan Tianlai in the Grotto Heaven could not see through Su Lei's divine territory, he could feel from the change in her aura that Su Lei had completely calmed down. I didn't expect her to have a trace of Yujia's bloodline. Night Sorrow, who continued to observe Su Lei, said in surprise. He saw a trace of Yujia's shadow in Su Lei's bloodline power. What's Yujia? Hearing this, Yuan Tianlai asked in confusion. Yujia is a divine beast that once existed between heaven and earth. Dragons and phoenixes are its descendants. This Su Lei has Yujia's bloodline. She's at least as talented as a true dragon and a true phoenix. Before Night Sorrow could speak, Bai Mei Sanren spoke first. At this time, Yuan Tianlai continued, in this world, dragons and phoenixes are not considered strong to us. How strong can they be? There are dragons and phoenixes in the eternal supreme world. They are even called ancestral dragons and ancestral phoenixes. In fact, they are not pure true dragons and phoenixes. Their bloodlines were much weaker than his. Yujia and its descendants, the original true dragons and phoenixes, have long disappeared. If they still exist, they should not be weaker than the few Supreme Realm experts. Hearing Yuan Tianlia's words, Bai Mei Sanren immediately retorted. These things were legends that Yen had told him. He was not sure if it was true, but he felt that Yen was not joking, so there should be no mistake. After saying this, Bai Mei Sanren asked Night Sorrow, how did you hear about Yujia? Just now, I saw a huge shadow behind her, and the name Yujia naturally appeared in my mind. Before this, I seem to have heard of Yujia. But the one in front of me makes me feel like it's the only one in the world. The others should only have its bloodline. Night Sorrow said, then guessed, I think it's because I have the phoenix bloodline in me. That's why I was able to recognize it immediately. Yes. That's probably the case. After Night Sorrow finished his explanation, Baimei Sanran immediately agreed. But then, he said worriedly, Su Lei has Yujia's bloodline while you only have the phoenix's bloodline. You are half a level lower than her. Can you win this bet? I'm not sure if I can win or not. But I know that I won't lose. While Night Sorrow was replying to Baimei Sanran, he felt that the pressure on his body was too great. He completely activated the phoenix bloodline in his body. Under the influence of the black gas, he activated a black fire phoenix, which seemed to have an evil aura. Oh. That Yujia behind her doesn't have any black aura. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at Su Lei again and found that the lifelike huge bird behind her did not have any black aura. There's nothing strange about this. Most of the cultivators in the foggy area came from the Eternal Supreme Realm. Their auras may have been corroded, but the power of their bloodline is in their bones. It will never change. At this time, Yuan Tianlai said. I see. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly realized that he had almost given himself away. But it was not that there were no fallen phoenixes in this world. There was nothing wrong with what he had shown. At this time, Su Lei observed Night Sorrow and said, so he has the bloodline of the fallen fire phoenix. No wonder he dared to bet with me on the Mountain of Flames. It's just that his bloodline is not as good as mine. The one who will win will definitely be me. Of course. In terms of bloodline, not many people can beat you in the flames. After Su Lei finished speaking, an elder in her space grotto heaven said confidently. He'll win for sure. But this flame is very difficult to deal with, so I won't say much. Elders, just wait for the result. At this time, although Su Lei had already used the power of her bloodline, she still felt a lot of pressure in the face of the flames, so she focused on resisting. As time passed, Night Sorrow also gradually felt the great power of the flames. That feeling was like throwing an ordinary person into a pot of oil. It was very uncomfortable. But in order to win, he still persevered and had no intention of backing down. After Night Sorrow and Su Lei fought to the death for 2 hours, not long after, the male cultivators who were classified as the 3rd grade left the Mountain of Flames one after another. They had all lasted for 2 hours, and not a single one was eliminated. Seeing these people leave the Mountain of Flames one after another after 2 hours, the gray-robed elder said with a smile, the 3 Weisstein's classification of grades is really accurate. Whether it's talent or temperament, these people are inferior to the remaining few. At this time, Gusabi and Hasa were still persevering. Although their position was lower than Night Sorrow and Su Lei's, it was still very difficult for them to persevere because they didn't have bloodline talents related to flames. However, the two of them were silently competing. No one wanted to lose. Not bad. Their temperament is good, but their talent is a little lacking. Seeing the performance of the two, the gray-robed elder nodded. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and Su Lei, wanting to observe the result. But after looking, he found that he couldn't see who would win. At this time, an old man suddenly appeared beside him and said, "Who do you think will win?" "Greetings, Weisstein." The gray-robed elder turned around and saw that it was Weisstein Ji Xian. He immediately bowed. Then he said, "I still think Su Lei is better. The first reason is that she is strong enough, and the second reason is that her bloodline talent is better in this place. I think Night Devil will win." Weisstein Ji Xian glanced at the battle and said, "You also know that after persevering in the flames for 2 hours, it will usher in an illusion. It will feel hotter and hotter, but in reality, the heat of each area will not change. Therefore, both of their bodies can withstand the flames at this height in front of them. In the end, the deciding factor is their temperament. You're saying that Night Devil's temperament is stronger than Su Lei's?" The gray-robed elder looked at Weisstein Ji Xian and said, Yes. Vice Dean Ji Xian nodded and continued, in his heart, his goal should be to break through to the extreme realm. All three of us can feel it. If he loses so easily, how can he break through to the extreme realm? Therefore, no matter what, he will persevere until the end. Stealing incense. Chapter 3156. Oh. I didn't expect him to have the ambition of reaching the extreme realm. The gray-robed elder looked at Knight Sorrow in surprise when he heard Vice President Ji Xian's words. In his opinion, for Knight Sorrow, breaking through to the heavenly supreme level was obviously a more suitable goal. Setting his sights on the illusory Lemmeter was a little too ambitious. At this moment, Vice President Ji Xian said, he's not aiming too high, but setting a goal. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's wait and see. Then, the two of them continued to look at Knight Sorrow and Su Lei. They wanted to wait for the final result of their battle. They knew that in the Mountain of Flames, cultivators would feel their surroundings getting hotter and hotter. No one could hold on forever. After the two of them observed for about 2 hours, Yi Shang and Su Lei's bodies both changed. To outsiders, the two of them looked like they were restless. It looked like they couldn't hold on any longer. However, they were both holding on. This Su Lei is indeed not simple. The burning of the Mountain of Flames is making me feel more and more uncomfortable. If not for the bet with her, I would have given up long ago. I didn't expect her to be able to hold on so long in such high temperatures. Knight Sorrow said slowly as he looked at Su Lei. At this moment, he was like a drowning pedestrian. He couldn't hold on at all and wanted to jump out of the water. However, Su Lei didn't give up. He kept holding on. No matter what, we can't lose. If we lose, we'll lose the fate of the eternal supreme realm. Knowing that Knight Sorrow couldn't hold on any longer, Bai Mei Sanren immediately encouraged him. I know, so I'm holding on. I just don't know what the consequences will be if we keep holding on. Will we all be incinerated? Knight Sorrow, who was gritting his teeth and holding on, felt worse than having 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. However, he kept holding on and had no intention of giving up. I don't think so. Since it's a test for the students of Lu Tian Academy, it shouldn't be so despairing. Yen Tianlai said slowly. Actually, he was a little envious of Knight Sorrow at this moment. After all, he hadn't advanced to Slaughter Academy in the end. However, when he thought of his identity in the Eternal Supreme World, he felt that the Slaughterer Academy in the foggy area was no longer that important. It was no longer an obsession in his heart. Yes. No matter what, I will continue to persevere. Knight Sorrow was left completely speechless after replying to the crowd once more. This was because his senses were becoming more and more uncomfortable. At this moment, he felt like an ordinary person who had entered a pool of molten red molten iron. That kind of feeling was already very frightening. At this moment, Su Lei was not much better. No matter how much the two elders in the space paradise encouraged her, she still felt like she could not bear it and wanted to give up. But at this time, she clenched her teeth and told herself, even if I'm burned to death, I can't be someone else's slave. This was her dignity as an emperor. These two little fellows are pretty good. Just hold on a little longer and the two of them will surpass Lin Dongqing's score. After another 2 hours, Gusubi and Hasa woman left the Mountain of Flames one after another. Knight Sorrow and Su Lei were still persevering. The gray-robed elder, who had seen their performance, nodded in satisfaction. He felt that he had indeed recruited 2 good seedlings this year. However, it was a little difficult for 2 tigers to live on the same mountain. They've persisted for so long. In my opinion, neither of them can afford to lose. They would rather be burned to ashes in the flames than compromise. Therefore, this competition is very likely to end in a draw. At this moment, the Vice Dean, Ji Xian, suddenly made his own judgment. He had already felt the determination of Knight Sorrow and Su Lei. He felt that even if they were to suffer more in the new era, they would not give up. Therefore, it was very likely that they would continue to drag this out. And Ji Xian's words came true. Another 6 hours passed. Although Night Sorrow and Su Lei could no longer hold on mentally, they did not give up. Because neither of them could afford to lose. They would rather be burned to ashes than lose. Seeing this situation, the gray-robed elder said, "If they continue to drag this out, they won't break the record of the Mountain of Flames, right? Then they should be rewarded." It's possible. If they can both break the record of the longest duration, it will really become a legend. Ji Xian smiled and nodded. He secretly thought that the people that Elder Su had his eyes on were indeed not ordinary. Another 10 hours passed. Night Sorrow and Su Lei broke the record of the new students at the Mountain of Flames at the same time. And at this time, Night Sorrow and Su Lei both had a slight understanding. They had discovered the secret of the Mountain of Flames at the same time. As long as one's spirit could withstand the test, one's body would not be burned to ashes. Therefore, although the two of them were extremely uncomfortable, they continued to persevere. In the end, Night Sorrow even began to cultivate his physical body in this extremely uncomfortable environment. After cultivating for a few hours, he felt that the strength of his body had successfully been tempered to the intermediate level of a Heavenly Supreme. It was roughly equivalent to the level of a Middle Heavenly Supreme. However, what really surprised Night Sorrow was that the Phoenix battle armor had continuously absorbed the essence of the flames. The Phoenix battle armor had completely sublimated in the flames and advanced to the level of a Heavenly Supreme. This was a huge surprise for Night Sorrow. However, at this time, there was a problem. The Phoenix battle armor, which had advanced to the level of a Heavenly Supreme, would soon face a lightning tribulation. If Night Sorrow did not help, it would very likely be destroyed by the lightning tribulation. However, Night Sorrow could not give up on the battle. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow had an idea. He transmitted his voice to Su Lei. "Su Lei, you and I both know that although the flames in front of us are getting more and more terrifying, they can't really threaten our bodies. Therefore, it's very difficult for us to determine the winner. Why don't we change the battle? What you said makes sense, but how do you want to change it?" Su Lei replied to Night Sorrow. She knew that if she and Night Sorrow continued to fight like this, they would only be tortured together. Neither of them would give up. Let's see who can reach the top first. If neither of us can reach the top, then let's see who can reach a higher position. How about that? Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Su Lei. At this time, it was torture for both of them. He felt that Su Lei would not refuse. And the truth was so. After being tortured for so long, Su Lei felt that she was about to go crazy. She transmitted her voice to Night Sorrow. "Okay. I promise you, we will change the rules." "When will we go?" "Immediately. But after all, I am the one who changed the rules, so you go first, and then I will." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Su Lei. At this time, he had already stood up. "I won't go easy on you because of this." Su Lei, who replied to Night Sorrow, did not hold back and directly climbed to the top of the mountain. She knew that this time, between her and Night Sorrow, the winner would be decided very soon. Stealing incense. Chapter 3157. The outcome of this matter meant a lot. She couldn't afford to lose. Night Sorrow, hurry up. But she won. Seeing Su Lei desperately climbing towards the peak, Bai Mei Sanren, who was in the space grotto heaven, immediately reminded him anxiously. Hearing this, Night Sorrow responded and then said, "According to my observation, it's not that easy to reach the peak. Because the flames on top are much more powerful than here. It's not necessarily a good thing to rush up rashly. I choose to fight steadily and surely." "So you already had a plan. But is this really reliable?" Yen Tianlai, who was in the space grotto heaven, also spoke. He didn't understand Night Sorrow's choice. "Just now, Su Lei and I fell into a state of wanting to win and being afraid of losing, causing our minds to become very impetuous. It's definitely not advisable to climb the mountain of flames with an impetuous state of mind. But I've already adjusted my state of mind. I shouldn't lose. Night Sorrow explained again and began to climb steadily. Because he didn't use all his strength, the distance between him and Su Lei grew larger and larger. Seeing this scene, Bai Mei Sanren and Yen Tianlai were not the only ones who were anxious. Even the gray-robed elder and vice principal Ji Xian, who were watching from the side, were puzzled. They didn't quite understand why Night Sorrow was climbing up so slowly. The gray-robed elder glanced at vice principal Ji Xian and said, "Has he given up, or does he have thoughts that we can't see through?" This, I'm not too sure either. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have given up so easily. But his choice is really strange. Seeing Su Lei climb higher and higher, Vice Principal Ji Xian said. At this moment, his mind suddenly moved and he said, "I understand." Night Demon judged that Su Lei would definitely not be able to reach the peak. He's prepared to use the most stable state of mind to reach the peak. Yes, it should be like this. I see. It seems that this Night Demon is really a person with great courage. Hearing Vice Principal Ji Xian say this, the gray-robed elder immediately praised. As for Night Sorrow's mood, he admired it from the bottom of his heart. At this time, the others who were watching the battle between Night Sorrow and Su Lei at the foot of the mountain could not see the situation clearly. Everyone, including Hasa Woman and Gusabi, was just watching the show. At this time, the gray-robed elder suddenly turned to look at them and said, "Pay more attention to the Night Demon. He is not simple." "Yes, Elder." After Grey Robe finished speaking, everyone agreed, but they did not quite understand why he came to such a conclusion. Because from the looks of it, Su Lei was clearly closer to victory. If nothing unexpected happens, the Night Demon will win this battle. Seeing that everyone was confused, the gray-robed elder continued to explain. Vice Dean Ji Xian didn't say this out loud. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Vice School Head Ji Xian immediately agreed. And reality was also developing in this direction. Although Su Lei was far ahead, her state of mind was obviously very impetuous. After climbing for about an hour, she found it difficult to make any progress. On the other hand, Night Sorrow didn't seem to be moving very fast, but he was able to maintain a steady pace, causing the distance between them to decrease. No. I can't let him catch up. Seeing that Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer, Su Lei's state of mind began to become even more impetuous. She burned her own blood and continued to rush upwards. However, as the height increased, she soon felt a flame that she couldn't withstand rushing towards her. Are these real flames, or are they the flames of an illusion? Facing the oncoming flames, Su Lei asked in confusion. A cultivator in her space grotto heaven immediately said, "According to my senses, these are real flames. They are different from the ones you were fighting just now. Looks like I have to go around these flames to continue going up." The flames in front of her were too fierce. Su Lei didn't have the confidence to break through at all. She immediately flew at the same height, looking for a way to continue going up. However, after searching for a while, she still couldn't find a suitable path. What was blocking his way were all extremely terrifying level 7 flames. At this time, Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer. She immediately shouted anxiously, "What should I do? I definitely can't lose this bet." "Don't be afraid. If you can't pass, he might not be able to pass either. Stay calm. Even if he catches up, it's not like there's no chance. After all, he's catching up bit by bit." Seeing that Su Lei's state of mind was a little unstable, the other person in the space grotto heaven immediately consoled her. "No. I can feel that it's already very difficult for me to win this bet. Because my state of mind is already in a mess. I've been focusing on the night devil behind me and haven't been able to reach the peak without any distracting thoughts." At this time, Su Lei said with some regret. Night Sorrow had been chasing from behind, which gave her a lot of pressure. Now, it was too late. Sigh. Hearing Su Lei's words, the the two people in the space grotto heaven both sighed. They knew that what Su Lei said made sense. However, the three of them didn't realize it just now. This might be the case of those closely involved unable to see clearly. At this time, Night Sorrow's body had an aura of bravery. He didn't fly at all. Instead, he climbed up step by step. Every step was very solid. With these solid steps, he approached Su Lei bit by bit. In the end, he successfully overtook her. After being overtaken by Night Sorrow, Su Lei completely collapsed. She knew that in this battle, she definitely didn't have the chance to turn defeat into victory. Because the two of them were very different in terms of state of mind, the intensity of the flames they encountered was also different. She flew very quickly and the attacks of the flames were also very strong. However, Night Sorrow was advancing step by step. After overtaking her, he continued to climb up with all his might. He had no intention of stopping at all. You've already won. I can't get past these flames in front of me. Seeing Night Sorrow continue to climb up, Su Lei said helplessly. These words made her feel a strong sense of humiliation. When Night Sorrow heard this, he turned to look at her and said, "Go down and wait for me. I want to try and see if I can successfully reach the peak." As he spoke, Night Sorrow continued to climb up, step by step towards the top of the mountain. As the height increased, the heat that Night Sorrow felt naturally became stronger and stronger. However, he still didn't give up. At the same time, as the height increased, his state of mind also underwent some changes. He gradually understood that the path to the peak was a path of invincibility. With invincibility in his heart, he could climb. This Night Devil really has a chance to reach the peak. I should give him a certain amount of motivation. Seeing Night Sorrow continue to climb up and have no intention of stopping, Dean Ji suddenly said. Vice President Ji Xian suddenly shouted, "Go, Night Demon. If you can successfully reach the peak, the clone of the Emperor Slayer will come out to see you. He'll give you a reward." Stealing incense. Chapter 3158. Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger is sleeping under the mountain of flames. If you successfully reach the top, you will awaken him. He will bring you endless rewards and unbelievable legacies. Good luck, Night Devil. After saying that, Deputy Dean Ji Xian felt that he was not specific enough, so he added another sentence. What? If I reach the top, Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger will appear? With his eyesight, I will most likely be exposed. I can't reach the top, I definitely can't reach the top. Hearing Deputy Dean Ji Xian's words, Night Sorrow felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His thoughts of reaching the top were immediately extinguished. He knew very well that even if Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger appeared, it was very likely that he would discover the secret of his identity. After all, life forms at that level could see things that people like them could not imagine. You're right. The legendary Emperor Destroyer is extremely talented. If he appears, it will be very difficult for our identities to be exposed immediately. Sensing the change in Night Sorrow's mentality, Ape Tianlai immediately transmitted his voice. Actually, he was as nervous as Night Sorrow. Facing a legendary expert like Emperor Destroyer, he was not mentally prepared at all. Don't worry, I definitely won't reach the top. No one is stupid enough to court death. After Ape Tianlai said that, Night Sorrow said that and gradually changed his pace. It seemed as if he was struggling to move forward. Hee. As expected, he can't reach the top. Seeing that Night Sorrow had slowed down his pace, some of the onlookers heaved a sigh of relief. They knew very well that if Night Sorrow could reach the top, they would all be completely overshadowed. There would be no chance for them to make a comeback. Because he had been trained by Emperor Destroyer for a period of time, his cultivation level, which was lower than others, would increase greatly in a short period of time. As for the gray-robed elder and Deputy Dean Ji Xian, they were both somewhat disappointed. They wanted to see Night Sorrow successfully reach the top. But they knew very well that although Night Sorrow's performance was outstanding, it seemed that he would not be able to reach the top, because his condition was not right. And Night Sorrow did not disappoint their judgment. Not long after, he came down from the mountain of flames. At this moment, his phoenix battle armor was already on his body. Before Night Sorrow could even speak to Su Lei, the lightning tribulation for the phoenix armor had already arrived. Facing this kind of lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow naturally handled it with ease. Under the attention of everyone, he successfully passed through it. As for the phoenix armor, it had become a heavenly sovereign level armor. Beginning with the Azure Phoenix, returning to the Azure Phoenix. From today onwards, you shall be known as the Azure Phoenix Battle Armor. After putting on the armor, Night Sorrow suddenly remembered Jing Yun, who had given him the armor, and immediately changed its name back. He recalled the Azure Phoenix Battle Armor. However, the current Azure Phoenix Battle Armor was also greenish-black in color, so it did fit the name. Night Demon. You have achieved a very good result today. Follow me later to receive your reward. Before that, you and Su Lei should first resolve the problem between you two. After Night Sorrow helped the Azure Phoenix Battle Armor overcome the lightning tribulation, the gray-robed elder immediately came to him. After that, the elder in gray robes led the others away, leaving only Su Lei in front of Night Sorrow. I've lost. I've lost. After the gray-robed elder left, Su Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said unwillingly. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at her. He looked at her and said, the bet will naturally take effect. However, I haven't thought of how to deal with you yet. You can display yourself in the academy first. However, you have to be clear that you have made a heavenly oath and are already my servant. I understand. Su Lei was a little surprised by Night Sorrow's words. She responded and left directly. Seeing that Night Sorrow had let Su Lei go, Yuan Tianlai asked in confusion, why did you let her go? Isn't it better to directly enslave her? I felt a trace of danger from her body. This kind of danger could threaten my life. It's better to wait until she's stronger before trying to control her. Yi Shang explained and rushed towards the gray-robed elder's location. Gray-robed elder. After catching up to everyone, Night Sorrow came to the gray-robed elder's side and greeted him politely. You're very good. However, if you want to achieve your goal, I'm afraid you'll have to go a long way. Thinking of what Vice Dean Ji Xian had said, the gray-robed elder said earnestly. All these years, even in the Lu Tian Academy, there had only been a few Supreme Realm seedlings, but no one had ever succeeded. He felt that although Yi Shan had ambitions in this area, it would be extremely difficult for him to realize it. Then go very, very far. The gray-robed elder was talking about the Supreme Realm. Night Sorrow did not know. Thinking of the goal of protecting the eternal Supreme Realm in his heart, he immediately said this. Night Sorrow understood that this goal was very difficult to achieve, but he would definitely not give up. Not long after, under the gray-robed elder's lead, Night Sorrow and the others received their rewards one after another. Then, they were arranged to live in their own residence. They all lived on a mountain peak. Night Sorrow lived at the peak. This was his reward for climbing the mountain of flames. Su Lei was the closest to Night Sorrow, about 3/4 of the mountain. Then there were Gusubi and Hasa Lady, both of them about halfway up the mountain. As for the others, they were arranged to wait at the height of the mountain of flames. The few of them were very close to each other. They did not even need to use their soul power to see each other's existence. After arranging everyone's residence, the gray-robed elder handed Night Sorrow and the others to a crimson-robed elder. Compared to the gray-robed elder, the crimson-robed elder looked much more ferocious. He had the aura of a wolf. After gathering Night Sorrow and the others, he said with a murderous tone, the higher you live, the better you'll be treated. The faster your strength will increase. If anyone wants to improve their living environment, you can accept a mission from me. This is the only way for you to improve within 1,000 years. At the same time, this is also your benefit. After 1,000 years, your mountain will enter the same small world as the other mountains. At this point, the crimson-robed elder laughed coldly and said, "At that time, you won't be protected at all." 1,000 years, huh? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow and the others immediately understood. This 1,000 years was the time the Academy gave them to take a breather. When the time was up, they would compete and fight with the other batches of students. After that, Knight Sorrow asked, "Elder, if the place we live in is good enough, what can we get after completing the mission? Other than the rewards you have already received, if you want to get anything within 1,000 years, you have to complete the mission. Also, after 800 years, I will calculate your completion of the mission and give you the corresponding reward. As for the remaining 200 years, it is left for you to improve your strength." The crimson-robed elder said word by word. Stealing incensed that you're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.